About a minute to go here. A big jobs number incoming for the month of July. Happy August 1st, by the way, if you hadn't checked the calendar. We're in a new month already. Crazy. What a week it's been for the overall market. What a week for earnings. What a week for economic data. Capping off this morning. Again, under a minute to go here. We'll get July non-farm payrolls. Here's what we are expecting. 147,000, if you remember, was the last. Consensus 110. The forecast also 110. Unemployment rate expected to tick slightly higher here, 4.2%, the expectation and the forecast versus a prior 4.1% rate. Participation rate, 62.3% expected here. We'll see what comes of this. About 10 seconds here. We'll get July non-farm payrolls. Could be an important number here for the market. Again, watch the unemployment rate. Could be a little bit 73,000 on the overall number there. 73,000 again, downside, pretty big way. 110,000 was the expectation, in line for the unemployment rate. Again, 4.2% versus 4.2% expected there. But the headline number, 73,000 jobs versus 110,000 expected. Quick look at the overall market. Downside right now, not a huge reaction there for the Qs, but a little bit negative to start things off. A lot of people talking about the hourly earnings rate, to keep an eye on that as well. 3.9%, a little bit of an uptick versus 3.6% expected. 62.2% participation rate, downside a little bit. 62.3% was the overall expectation on that. Again, unemployment rate exactly in line with expectation here. Bit of a curveball, downside, but I think a lot of people were like the headline gap or the expectation was anywhere from 0 to 110,000. So basically dead center.
I think the administration is going to take the opportunity here to start pounding the desk for more more rate cuts. Now that we got, a less than ideal jobs number there on the top line, we'll have to wait and see, guys. More tariff headlines as well, as Donald Trump coming out signing an executive order late evening yesterday with respect to all the countries who have not made trade deals with him. This country here just got slapped with a 35% tariff, up from 25. Lots to talk about today, Brendo. There's Apple, there's Amazon, there's Coinbase, there's MicroStrategy, Reddit reported. There's a whole bunch moving. And yeah, NVIDIA's back in focus. China wants proof, Brendo, that there's no back doors into those H20s. Yeah,
here we go. 2 days in a row. We're down 2% off the highs from yesterday in a matter of 2 days. It's worth noting on that Canada note this morning, it's outside the USMCA.
Yes.
So the deal they already have, which is expiring next year. So anything outside of goods that are included in the US or the current USMCA. So I mean, important, yes, but I think a lot of people are going to wait for them to renegotiate that. Let's just recap this real quick. A lot of people still coming in here if you just missed it. 73,000 was the number there for July non-farm payrolls versus 110,000 was the forecast. Remember, previous 14,000 was actually revised. I'm just hearing as well to the upside. 4.2% unemployment rate versus 4.2%, exactly in line with expectations right across the board here. All green numbers, though, as far as the employment data is concerned. Keep in mind, coming up a little bit later this morning, S&P Global Manufacturing PMI data, the final number for July at 9:45 at 10. We'll get the ISM version. Typically, the ISM version is the one that moves the market. And consumer sentiment could be an important one as well. There's an inflation portion to that number. But yeah, all eyes on tariffs. A lot of where's your taco trade now kind of headlines I saw this morning. So some people maybe anticipating this to get kicked down the road again. But here we are.
We'll wait and see. I mean, he kind of did it with Mexico, gave him a little bit of a reprieve. China out of focus, Brendo, because that deal expires the 15th of this month. Widely expected that it will be renewed again because it's just too detailed, too much going on there to get it done in a short period of time. Likewise with Canada as well, Brendo. So a lot of people don't want to take too much off that headline that there's no trade deal between these two countries. So keep an eye. Figma, who can forget about Figma?
Oh my God, it just
come on now.
Absolute monster. And again, here we go again today, back to the upside. But it's worth noting for our country, I think, like eerily quiet out of Ottawa right now. Like, no comments whatsoever.
No, and they've been doing that the entire time. They said, we're not going to negotiate in public, but at the same time, we don't know what's going on, and I think we deserve to know a little bit more.
At least something.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, here's FIG, absolutely monstrous after the close yesterday. And here we are pushing 140, guys. Obi's in for Sean today with a day off. Good morning.
Everybody, in addition to those numbers that we just got, the May revisions were down 125,000. The June revision was down 133,000. So it's actually worse than we thought. The DXY, thank you so much, Randy.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Yeah, nice.
Ready on a Friday, everybody, not always.
These are nice and cold.
It's getting dark up in here, first of all. Like they're like 20% through the roof, though. There's still a lot to. They got
we got a hell of a long ways to go tonight.
Long way to go.
We're getting there. Exxon,
Yeah.
7.1 billion in profit for the quarter. Production's up, efficiency's up. I
That'll
love
play.
it, love it, love it.
It'll play, but we're flat.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
really moves
again,
on that.
prices are depressed, but they're the most efficient machine in the field out there. I think again, Chevron had great numbers too, but I was pretty happy when I got home last night to read that. So anyway,
Randy's happy. The dollar's not happy though.
Oh no.
The U.S. dollar, that is.
Yeah, right
So I think reacting to obviously, well, I mean, look, we just got the payroll numbers. We still have some data at 10 o'clock, but the Dixie to the downside. The 10-year actually was falling as well. So maybe not as much of a reaction. Like the ES, slight drop. We're already down over the tariffs as well. The Nasdaq, slight move down, but we're already down over this tariff headline. And then the host of earnings to get to. My goodness, we'll obviously talk about Amazon, and you can't. This is the problem. You follow Google, you follow Microsoft, and their cloud growth was fantastic, and then you come in with a disappointing growth in the cloud, and they got absolutely smoked. Coinbase got hit overnight as well, unfortunately, because they missed across the board. But my goodness, obviously we have to talk about Figma, and you've seen us. You never heard of Figma? I don't know. I never heard of it either. No, here's the thing. We've been doing a lot of complaining about how long it takes to open IPOs, everybody, and this was a record.
Yep.
And
Really made us
also,
wait.
and at the same time, some criticism of the underwriters is probably due for their inability to price these things remotely correctly. All of that being said, you shouldn't complain about, you don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yes.
Because it feels as if these two things are conspiring to make the opening trade better. So I almost don't care, because this is now happening more often. Like, it was halting to the upside on an IPO that everyone is in love with in trading. It happened with Circle, so I kind of hope they do the same thing with Discord, and hopefully they never figure it out and get it efficient like they're supposed to do, because it creates a trading opportunity for everybody. So, hopefully that was great for you guys. We'll look to be trading it here today as well. Circle was pretty good second day. There was some VWAP bounce plays. There was some good reversion opportunities for you. So, but it's nothing like trading off of the open. Like, that's a take the opening print and just let it fly kind of deal, where it's very binary is the way I like to think about it. It either holds that even dollar or it doesn't off the open. If it does, you make bank. If it doesn't, you take your dollar hit, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we saw some pretty amazing price action on Fig yesterday. Absolutely beautiful, right off of the open. Now this chart doesn't really necessarily do it justice. We opened around 85s, and then we wick 84s, and then instantly halted up. It only traded for about 10 seconds, I think. 10 seconds, and then halted up into 93s, 94s, and then opens up once again for that 100 break. And that 100 was pretty key, Neil, as when it came back in and tested after aggressive selling from a test of like 116, there were strong reserves. Iceberg, talk about an iceberg, double bottom on that 100, and we only went up from there going into the close. So yeah, let's see if we can see more of the same today. Maybe some more bids stepping up. There was reserves that were literally stepping up in 102 halves, 105s, 107 halves, 110s as well. It was very, very nice. And then we finally got that high day break going into the end of the day, and continuation into the after hours as well, Neil. And I know a lot of people just swinging this from 105s, from 110s, even taking the close for a little bit of a swing as well. But yeah, let's see, still holding above prior day's high. You can see that pre-market test coming in at 125s and holding structure a little bit above that that after hours high coming in at 148.80. Didn't quite get to 150, but let's see if we can get through 150 today. I'm definitely looking to get some inventory to take through 150. Let's see if we can effectively execute on that idea if the market, figures itself out and we get through those pre-market highs.
Yeah, well, the thing, I almost wonder, is it even possible for any market weakness to hold it back? Because we saw, and the only thing you can liken it to, despite the fact that it doesn't really matter what they do, Circle and Figma have nothing in common in that regard. But if you're trying to remember, well, you're like, oh, but look what happened. It can't possibly still go. Like it's already up 4 times the IPO price. Just remember day 2 on Circle. Like Circle had a very similar absurd run, like $60 all the way to 100, which as far as I'm concerned, like when you talk about 85 to 120, you're talking about a similar type move, dollar for dollar. And the fact that it put in almost as impressive of a day the second day on Circle, then started being a little bit tricky after that, before it started breaking out again. If you can do anything approximating Circle's day 2, there's some awesome opportunities. And I remember it holding the volume weighted average price. We were showing a chart of it on day 2 yesterday. There was a VWAP breakout, and then there was a nice reversion on a short trade. So Circle's proven that this can happen, despite the fact that everyone gets anchored to, but it was $33. What you have to keep in mind with Figma was at that $33, they were literally valuing the company at the same price Adobe was willing to pay for it 3 years ago. Was the market flat in the 3 years? No. So it was one of those weird things where, as long as that was true, like 33 was just not, it was almost like nonsense, and that's why you were willing to buy it. I'm not saying this is a fair value for it, but history has taught us that don't assume it's going to fill in the gap just because the price seems ridiculous to everybody. So yeah, I know we're going to be all over this for sure. And this market, like I'm looking up and we're already breaking back higher. The dollar was going down. Maybe
people had allocations.
Oh,
so I saw some Robinhood
had allocations.
Yeah. So from 33s. That's absolutely wild. So congrats to anybody who got allocations. I saw a picture saying they submitted for 1,000 shares and they got 1. I was like, that's pretty funny. But even if you got 1, pretty much banked.
Better than
at
nothing. 33
and it opens that up at 85. Come on.
It's better than nothing.
Exactly. It's a nice little gift that you got there.
As long as you got the trade.
If you had allocations, then that was probably the best trade to have.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you can't do better than that percentage-wise, but then you also have to hold it. I mean,
but the thing is, we saw how Circle went, and this one was notionally bigger than Circle. Circle was about $1 billion. This one was just over 1.2. Another thing, Adobe tried to acquire them, and they failed, right?
Well,
so they got rejected. Sure, they got rejected, and it's like, okay, fine. Like there was significant demand by a very, very strong large cap company. They really wanted this, and then they got rejected because they were like, maybe one man can't have too much power, right? So it's just like.
Let's give a Highlander.
Yeah.
No, but that's what got me about the price is that if you, I think it was somewhere around just over 2x is what the Nasdaq did from the time Adobe tried to acquire them and then didn't happen to now. So even if you just put that metric on it and doubled that 19 or the 20 that they were willing to pay, then it's like Circle should have, well not Circle, but Figma should have been like closer to 70. In that regard, if you just did to its valuation what the Nasdaq did, then you would have thought it would have been 70. So like that's why we were crossed up. Like the whole time I was like, yeah, this is, when it was at 60, I'm like, maybe it'll be more than a double. But anyways, that's why you take that open and print. There's going to be a lot to look at. Ooh, even UNH is bouncing here today. As the market shrugging off these numbers, which might slightly increase the chances of a rate hike, boys, or cut.
Yeah, no, big time. Just want to recap these for everyone again because it's more about the revisions over the past couple of months and also the revisions for the unemployment rate. As I was mentioning, I was just hearing in my ear there as that number came out, the revision for last month to the upside for the unemployment rate. May revise down 125,000, more than a negative 200,000 print over the actual that they came out with. So the actual was 19,000. And then again, June, as Neil was mentioning there, 14,000 on the revision to the downside, over 147,000. Like way, way off what they actually posted.
I'm just wondering how come we're not seeing that in the unemployment rate if it's not being reflected. So people are not adding jobs, but they're not losing their jobs. And that's kind of what we've heard about AI. You're not going to see net loss in jobs, but you're not going to see net additions either. So does that have to be factored in? Do you think when you're assessing full employment, if you're the Fed, if you're not adding jobs in the way that you're supposed to be adding jobs, but you're not really losing them either, how does that factor into the equation? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Short term, I want to talk about yields here as well, just real quick. We're going to get to Michael, but yields downside in a huge, huge way right now. The 2-year on track to post its largest daily fall since April, down 13 basis points. You're looking at the 30-year right now. This is a more than 10 basis point reversal. This is a daily chart. 10 basis point reversal here for the 30-year at 428. This was above 4.5 going back to just a week ago. If we go to the 10-year here real quick, looks exactly the same. Down better part of 2%, a 10 basis point swing here for the 10-year and the 30-year as well on the back of these numbers. And again, the move in the yields seem to come on that revision data more so than the actual print at 8:30 there. And I was just mentioning, they had to, dig deep in the back of closets to find 73,000, I bet, for this month.
It feels like it, Brendo, especially with all those revisions. I'd like to see why they were revised. What was the issue? What were the overestimations? So do a little bit digging on that. We'll talk about it on the midday.
Powell's been banging the table about being data dependent. This is
data.
A little bit of data for him to digest over the weekend here. Let's bring in Michael Loss here to kick off a Friday. And talk about where we're at here, Mr. Noss. Good to see you as always. The week has been just absolutely monstrous here. We get better part of a 2% swing from the high yesterday to essentially where we are right now. But I mean, the market, as the guys are mentioning there, trying to bounce and shrug off some of this employment data this morning. I mean, we've been talking about it looking a little bit toppy and volatility out the window for, it seems like, a few weeks now. Maybe we're starting to see that pick up again. I mean, it was the first 1% day in better part of a month, going back to a couple of days ago. So what are we thinking here on the monthly side of things? I did notice this morning as well, some of the weekly candles looking a little bit toppy.
Yeah, well, and first, I love sitting in the green room. You're talking about revising numbers up and down, and it just reminded me why I'm a technician, right? Because they come out with earnings or employment or whatever, and then it seems like next year they're like, no, we were wrong on that number. But the closing price of the S&P 500 will always be the closing price of the S&P 500. So first, I wanted to kind of come in and show I saw so many tweets yesterday about this engulfing candle on the S&P 500. So one thing I wanted to do quickly is, right, you can see it right there. Again, nice big gap up and then sell off. But does this stuff really matter? I know it's a scary candle and people were talking a lot about it, but the beauty of it being 2025 is that we can just go and test. So right off the bat, before we get into the monthly candles quickly, I just did 2 tests of what happens when there's a bearish engulfing candle on the S&P 500 and you hold this particular chart is 10 days later. So you short the bearish engulfing candle and then 10 days later you cover that short, and you would have, over the last 10,000 candles, I think this goes back to like 1996, you would have lost 70% of your money shorting, and you would have been wrong 64% of the time. And then the next chart is what happens 20 days later, and you would have lost like 80% of your money, and you would have been wrong again around 60 some odd percent of your time. So just an FYI, right? A bearish engulfing candle is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that's a little bit scary. Now, you could take maybe that and then combine it with a bunch of other indicators and maybe come up with a bear strategy. But just to say, this candle in and of itself is not one that I'm worried about. So what I did instead of being, scared of the pullback is I went and zoomed out, because I love when my time with you guys lines up with the end of the month. So we get nice, fresh monthly candles we can go through, because I say it every time, and I really do believe it, whether you're a day trader or a swing trader or a short-term investor, whatever it is, every month, take 10 minutes, change your chart to a monthly candle, go through your same watch list of sectors and ETFs and stocks, and it just kind of gives you that nice zoomed out look of what's actually kind of happening here. So, first is the S&P 500. You can see that this month, or the closing of last month, we broke those all-time highs, and this month we haven't really done too much. So yes, we are up 3 months in a row, but if you look back on the chart, you can see a couple other times that we were up 3 months in a row and it didn't stop us. We were up another 4 or maybe 5 months in a row. So again, a pullback, a retest, which that's exactly what today's action is doing, is coming back into that 626-ish area. I think it's like 629 right now, where that all-time high breakout was happening. I think this is healthy and normal. If we put in a small red candle this month, I don't think that should be anything that should scare us. What I'm looking for is, do we hold that all-time high break? The next chart is just the IWM, just to show that not everything is super overextended. So the IWM is 2,000 stocks. It's the smallest, not the smallest. It's 2 to 10 billion, I believe. Or no, under 2 billion, sorry, in the small cap sector. And you can see for the last 5-6 years, poor small caps have done absolutely nothing. Brendan was talking about interest rates falling off a little bit. I think that will actually be a real big boon for the small cap sector if we can get that, but haven't even gotten anywhere near that all-time high. Looking a little bit weaker than the S&P 500, which is our big cap tech names, showing there's a lot of room to go just to get to all-time highs, let alone break them there. The next chart we have here is the TLT. So this is a very interesting one where this is bonds. And I know bonds are boring. They're not as exciting to talk about as AI and all this stuff. But we have noticed that every time the TLT pulls back down to this zone, it also means that rates are increasing. And with rates increasing, that means the government debt is more expensive and all sorts of economic boring stuff. But every time Trump has kind of backed off from some sort of trade policy, it has been when the TLT is kind of hitting this low, because below this, there's not really much. And it means that interest rates that the government has to pay on their debt is huge. So I think somebody in his cabinet is kind of poking them and saying, hey, if we get too bad, this could be a problem. So keep an eye on this around $86, see if we hold that zone. Next chart here is software. So this is an interesting one where, we've all been focused on, when it comes to AI, the guys who make the chips. So, big cap tech and NVIDIA and all that. Software, however, which should be the beneficiary of AI, butting up near new all-time highs. That looks bullish to me. Next is Berkshire Hathaway. So we have the retirement line. So that is the dude exited like right at the top, and 3 months down. This is interesting to me because we're holding right near this level. But more importantly, the next chart here is financials, XLF, which Berkshire Hathaway owns a lot of. So we're close to a breakout in financials. We were close to a breakout in software. This next chart, which is home builders, this one's kind of interesting to me because home builders looked like it was about to fall into the abyss with that nice rounded top, but we seem to be recovering that now. So if we can hold over this 97 area, we have now home builders, software, and financials that look maybe poised for a breakout after a little bit of a rest. And then this one, XBI, which is the next one, which is also interest rate sensitive, that's not looking bearish to me either. And last but not least is one of my favorite sectors, very speculative one, but is the psychedelic one, getting close to all-time highs. So kind of the theme I wanted to give everyone there is that, yes, we have been up 3 months in a row plus in the candles term, April 4 if you count April, but it's not everything that looks overextended. A lot of these charts look like they're just setting up and just poising for a potential breakout. So if we do start to see this rotation away from these big cap techs and these semiconductor plays and into some of these other names, then yes, the SPY could come down, but we could see a lot of these, right? Financials, software, home builders, biotechs, maybe these things are going to break out. So, take some time. That's what I'm going to be doing this week. Expand, see what is not participating in this little bit of a pullback that we're getting. And that might be our clues to potentially where to look to next for investments.
Timing, when it comes to that, are you waiting for the actual market to show some signs of life at this point? We've been floating higher for weeks and weeks and weeks, it feels like anyway. If we find what is relatively strong, as you were saying, are we actually waiting for the market to show signs of life here before we're getting too excited?
One chart that I did not include because there's already a lot of charts, I didn't want to take up all of your guys' time, but was the RSP, so the equal weighted S&P 500. I am more interested in that one than I am the cap weighted version because what's happening now is that, you know, NVIDIA, Apple, you know, the big guys, the Mag 7 that we know, they have a good day, the SPY rips higher. They have a bad day, the SPY rips lower. And it's not really, the more weighted we get to those names, the less of a good representation it is of the entire market. So I'm focusing a lot on these equal weighted sectors. So say, for example, the SPY does nothing for the next month, but we have the IWM moving higher, we have RSP moving higher. I'm still going to be very interested in buying a lot of those names, because what that's just telling me is that the big cap tech guys may be struggling, but everything else is doing okay. And as an investor who, you know, doesn't really care too much what NVIDIA does, because I don't own any right now, is just I'll take small cap names if small cap names are working.
It's really interesting on the timing for the small cap Russell in general. As we were saying over the past couple of days here, has been the hardest hit and continues to be the hardest hit. And unless we get some sort of movement here sooner than later, I haven't checked the CME Fed Funds tool, but on that data we got at 8:30, I'm sure maybe we're starting to move a little bit nearer term as far as rate cuts go, but that can help as well. Great stuff. Michael Nuss, have a great, I was going to say long, I mean, it's a long weekend in this country, but the market is still open on Monday, so we'll see you then.
So I'll be there. I'll see you then.
Yeah, it's not a long weekend for Michael, because if you're a trader, the U.S. markets matter the most. And like the thing about like any rotation is, you want to rotate to something strong. We were just talking about a couple things, which I want to highlight here. One, IWM breaking its trend. Like this was trying to go, something Michael and we had talked about in the aftermarket show several times. The Russell could not seem to get going. The small caps breaking out and making a run at those highs, but you're now clearly breaking the trend to the downside. The other thing is, my goodness, the US dollar just continues to fall. Like it's just going and going and going. And if you look at it here at Real Trading, we don't trade Forex, but I mean, you can. Like if you look at like Euro to USD or Euro Yen, like both of those reflecting the same sort of thing. Like some of the candles here, I don't know if there's any real traders that are trading this, but since the numbers this morning, like Euro USD, just still trending to the upside. So you're getting a ton of movement. Forex traders are probably really happy for this, but let's be real. There's still in the back of our minds like a few things here. A, we're through a lot of earnings, but we're not completely through earnings season. B, we still have the biggest deadline of them all, which is August 12th, and that's China. And then C, it seems as if whenever we panic about tariffs, there's usually a bit of a bounce. So there's a lot working here that it's not automatic. Like I do have short ideas, but it's not automatic that I'm only thinking to the short side. I mean, obviously Figma is going to be a different. You almost don't care what the market's doing with regards to Figma today. But right now, you're seeing a lot of volatility. And as I said, it's a Friday options expiration. That's going to be a big deal. And then a host of earnings, which we're going to be able to get into for sure, like Coinbase, disappointed with Coinbase. Amazon, maybe even more disappointing, I think. But let's be real, the US dollar is absolutely flying to the downside. You want to keep that Dixie up or whatever you use to track it. If you're using the DXY to track it, if you're using USD yen, or if you're using Euro USD, you'll get a good sense of how the dollar is doing. But you got to watch that today after our numbers this morning.
Yeah, I think definitely ones to watch out for. A lot of strong earnings names. Definitely ones to watch out for. A lot of strong earnings names. Yes, Amazon not as impressive. I was watching it as well, of course. I may or may not have a liking to Amazon, but nice little push down as well off of the earnings report. Consolidating pretty tightly. But we'll talk about some more of those earnings names right after we get back from some upgrades and downgrades.
We have some earnings names on this list as well. NEO down about 2% this morning, but with a Macquarie upgrade. And we've got MP Materials also red on the morning, getting an upgrade from Jefferies in case you guys missed it. MP and some other rare earths related names had a nice pop into the close on a report suggesting that they might get some more support from the Trump administration. Amazon and Apple both have yesterday's largest earnings names on watch, getting upgrades from Ines, Crespi, and Hart. Then on the downgrade side of things, HSBC Securities giving a negative note here for Chubb. Builders First Source with a downgrade from RBC Capital Markets, and last but not least, Zynex Medical, the downgrade from HC Wainwright. What a list. Back to you.
Yeah, good list. I mean, the upgrade on Amazon, despite the AWS miss, is, that's an interesting take. Because relative to Google and Microsoft, that was very disappointing. Apple, the interesting thing about Apple, it didn't really move much in the aftermarket compared to what everything else seems to be moving that reported earnings, but it didn't gap down either. So when we had all this scare overnight with this, the overnight tariff news, no move down. It's almost like all the bad with regards to that is priced in for Apple, and maybe it's just not dropping as much. Prior highs at 210 look very enticing to me if the market heads down. Like, this is the one name that it just didn't go. I don't understand it didn't break out either, and it could just be maybe we're in a compression pattern, fine. But there's room to 215 on Apple. If it can hold that 210 at the open, I'm game for this. And there's just not that much out there that looks relatively strong. And open, speaking of the open, I got to point out, did not see any news for this, but open door is on the move. It could just be, it's just technical, but a nice little rally here after several down days. It's been trending back in. It's trying to get back higher. There's some big levels that it has to chew through on open, but the volume looking pretty solid to start. If it can keep this up, I might throw it on the back burner. It's got a lot of resistance in the $2.75 to $3 range, but there's a long way till you get to those prices. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe the stream is telling me not to trade open based on that.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's Amazon, we were just talking about that one. With an upgrade, I don't know how much that upgrade is really helping out on Amazon. Bit of a breakdown of that 230 hold we were seeing for a good chunk of last week as well. Nice little consolidation in the 230s, finally kind of giving it up right there. Let's take a look at a higher time frame and move up to the weekly as well. Neil, the weekly has been pretty strong, and we're seeing this across the board. So a little bit of a trend break. Now, this trend, Neil, has been, this trend has been coming in since April, right? This is the April bid, and this is pre-market prices right now. So I know I have a lot of lines and a lot of anchored VWAPs. We're coming into some of those levels here on Amazon with that, with not only the earnings, but we had that overnight tariff rehash as well. So I guess we're selling off a little bit more on that. I do want to point out at the same time, if we just look at the Qs, I'm looking at the TQs here, a similar kind of potentially story happening here with the break of this trend on the TQ. So we're seeing a break of trend across the board. My question is being a little bit more leaning towards reversions. If we are going to break this trend now, are sellers going to step in? How aggressively are they going to step in? It is the end of the week. It's a Friday. Then again, I'm open to either way. Fig is definitely going to be a big part of today, I think, after what happened yesterday. Definitely very, very much in play. And I think that's going to be the key focus. Can we stick to in-play stocks relative to our playbook? And if your playbook is a trend break reversion or anything of that sort, it seems like some of these large caps are following in step of that. So I'm curious to know whether or not selling will come in. With the Dixie falling like that, I got to watch a little bit of that as well, right?
Well, that's sort of the interesting thing is like if we're falling this hard in the U.S. dollar, are we not going to catch some kind of a bid? But
exactly, right?
But that's usually what you'd think. It's like, oh, we got to catch a bid. The USD is going to the downside, but it's not always that easy, everybody. And
if it was that easy,
no, that's like no, I get it too. Like I look
if it was that easy,
like I see the Dixie falling, and I'm like, wow, where am I going long?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot. It's more nuanced. Like Coinbase is a really good example of this. Somebody knew that Coinbase, despite the strong numbers, and we're going to get to all this, it's 9 o'clock, we'll get back to the desk in a quick second, we're going to talk these earnings, but somebody was selling this thing all week into strength on the strong numbers that you got from Robinhood, and it was right at 385, and they were literally probably just yelling at everybody with their sell orders, even good news, bad news, didn't matter, someone sold that, and they were dead on Coinbase, and it's annoying, because every time it went in there, I was like, oh, come on, Coinbase, break out, man. You should be breaking out. And it just couldn't happen. Sometimes there's whales out there, and you should just listen to them. Let's go up to the desk. We got a lot to talk about.
Just watching, there's no bid on yield right now. Both the 30-year and the 10-year still just absolutely free falling. So let's get a look at the market here to get going.
All right, guys, we lost 6,400 last night on the ES September contract. A big drop off there. We got into that 64 almost in 2/3, 64, 67. But we are down now with the overnight low actually losing 6,300, 62.95. But we're above it right now. We'll say 6,300 as support if we continue in this way. And as you can see, we're coming back into that 200 exponential moving average on the 4-hour chart where we had found support prior to that. Late June, we've actually dropped in and we found support there. So 6,300 as our support area. We're going to use the overnight high, Brendo, 6,375 as resistance.
All right. As always, happy Friday. First of all, happy first day of August. If you haven't checked the calendar yet, make sure you jump down to the description of the video and grab the watch list. Top link in the description will get you to the sign up page. And then all you need is your email address. Comes right to your inbox every day. So much to discuss. I want to make sure we get to, I haven't even finished doing this yet, but we'll talk about Amazon coming up here, but let's start with Apple to kick things off. Huge move after the close. We've kind of chopped around, gone sideways a little bit here. You and I were just going over a couple of things which are incredibly interesting, but still kind of ironic in the same sense of the amount of times they mentioned the word or the term AI back during WWDC. And then the amount of times they mentioned AI during the call last night, it was almost on purpose.
It was very on purpose, Brendo. Like I was listening to the call yesterday, and they couldn't get enough of AI. They were mentioning it every other sentence from the beginning to the end. Let's talk about how they did. $1.57 on EPS, crushing the 143 expected. Net income 24.43 billion, up nicely year over year, and revenue as well. 10% bump year over year, now printing $94 billion, well ahead of the 89 billion and a half expected. Their strongest growth since December of 2021. Good look there. Gross margins at 46.5%, also topped estimates. Let's talk about the iPhone, because that's where they make the majority of their money. Revenue soared 13%, up to $44.5 billion. Cook noted the strong double-digit growth for the iPhone 16, especially from current iPhone users upgrading. Some sales strength, they said, pre-tariffs here, but only in April they saw pull forward. They didn't see pull forward May and June, so keep an eye on that. Mac and services continue to shine here. Brendo, Mac revenue rose 15% and service segment grew 13% with very good gross margins. But there are weak spots. Specifically, iPad revenue dropped 8%. Wearables, like your headphones, as well as the Apple Watch, dropped also 8.6% year over year. China continues to rebound, a 4% bump year over year. They were bringing in about $15.3 billion. Cook cited there were local subsidies by the Chinese government, which helped propel some of their product sales, but not all their products that they offer in China were actually entitled to these subsidies. Now let's talk about the AI strategy. Cook said Apple is significantly growing AI investments across all product platforms, and the company acquired, Brendo, 7 firms year to date, and he's not averse to picking more up. And let's talk about tariffs here last but not least. Apple took an $800 million tariff hit in Q3, and they're estimating, Brendo, a $1.1 billion hit in the next quarter, but he made very clear, don't use that 1.1 for Q4. It will be different. He didn't say it's going to be lower, but you kind of got the feeling they're doing stuff behind the scenes to kind of adjust to these tariffs.
Maybe he's waiting for the India number to come through as well. I don't know. They didn't announce that, I don't think.
25% on India.
For sure. Okay, so there you go. Just want to mention this real quick as well. These 4 in red over here are very, very mixed. It's worth noting. Mixed analyst notes this morning. Not necessarily all positive, not necessarily all negative. For the most part, price targets anywhere from 180 all the way up to 250 on Apple. Trying to get going right now, guys.
It's the strong one, so maybe all the bad has been priced in at this point. You got to feel like all the tariff stuff has been priced in at this point. What's interesting about the India number, it was 25, but it was at 26. I think they were the only ones that got a better rate on this next deadline. We'll see how that plays out. I mean, that obviously would be somewhat good for Apple as well. Now that we're pressing higher, don't know about this 210 coming in here again, so I might adjust. I mean, not yet. It's Friday, so a lot of times, don't let it go too far. If we end up not pulling back into prior highs for a long try here, then I'm going to look at the volume weighted average price. This just comes down to everything else gapped down. And this did not overnight on the tariff headline, so that indicates a little bit more that it's priced in and helps me to favor the long side. I just want to quickly show everyone the Fed rate tool. Like the September cut is back to 67% here on those jobs numbers. So and you're seeing like the bond market's telling you this too. I mean, we already looked at the bond market and we already looked at the dollar. So this story is being told this morning on that job number, which we said was going to be the biggest deal. So if I'm looking for some places to catch a bid, the simple fact that Apple did not go down on that tariff headline and has held the line here despite some issues, I'm going to go for that support off 210 if we get it this morning.
Yeah, I think it's important to note exactly what you said. Apple was sold off pretty aggressively initially on some of those tariff headlines and probably absorbed a lot of the selling as well. But not a strong reaction from that overnight tariff rehash as well. But earnings not really giving us that strong of a move. And yeah, Rory Anderson, thank you for the super chat. Tim cooked option holders. I like that one there. That's a good one. So yeah, going into the end of the week, if you were betting on earnings going one way or the other, maybe you should have had, what are they called, iron condors or butterflies, or I don't know, the ones where you're condors, there you go. See, I'm learning a little bit. So yeah, so Apple not really doing too much, but here's the thing, a little bit of a shake and bake gives us this range from 215s to 208s, and guess what? I'm going to throw up that anchored VWAP and keep in mind some of those prices going into the open, and we're going to revisit this coming into the end of the day. Oh boy, I already got a little bit of an anchored on there. I don't think that's the right one right here. So let's grab this one and put it to the earnings report. And yeah, no, I think this range is going to be interesting going into the rest of the day. I'm just going to mark it off right here and see what price does going into the opening session relative to some of these prices here. If we break that range, Neil, that's a lot of volume that came in off of the earnings report. If we break that range, then I can keep it simple and see if I can treat it as either a range hold or a range break on Apple today. Market tailwind, let's see where that market tailwind will take us, but definitely should be interesting, but no real reaction off of the earnings report.
Let's talk about Figma starting to come back to the downside right now, but just an absolutely monstrous move after the close on top of what happened during its debut yesterday. Up and away in a big way. What was it, 88 this thing came out at? 86, something like that. 148, the top here after the close yesterday for FIG. We're coming back through 135 right now, back downside. I mean, there's no news. It's the IPO continuing, day two here for FIG.
I mean, it was well received, obviously, Brendo. This is not the first one we've seen this aggressively received. Circle, CoreWeave, remember Newsmax, Webull, they were all very aggressively received. So it feels like it's IPO season. Yeah. And it's probably, it behooves you to keep your eye on that. So let's talk about what happened. Figma shares soared 250% on the first day, now valued at about $68 billion, tripling, Brendo, Adobe's failed $20 billion buyout. They raised $1.2 billion in the IPO, 2/3 of which went to early investors. The lockup period here prevents most stock sales until January of next year, January 2026. Figma's IPO marks a turning point after a long lull in the tech IPO since basically 21's rate hikes. U.S. venture capital-backed IPO shrank, Brendo, from 155 back in 21 to just 30 last year. So it's nice to see them start to pick up again. Circle and CoreWeave are perfect examples of that. Circle IPO'd in June. The share surged from 31 to 183, giving VCs like IDG and Excel about $12 billion in gains. Likewise with CoreWeave here, AI infra provider now valued at basically $56 billion, despite being off 38% from the June highs. And the market reaction and criticism here. I mean, you and I were talking about this off camera. Bill Gurley criticized IPO pricing mechanics, saying banks left money on the table for insiders. He called the Figma IPO expected and intentional, benefiting big bank clients who bought at $33 a share. You feel like they could have been a bit more aggressive with that IPO price, maybe 40s, 50s?
I don't think it matters at this point.
No?
It clearly, I mean, they're just going to open wherever they want to open at this point. I was just reading, end of the day yesterday, it was trading 50 times sales. Like, so expensive. I mean, you and I have talked about CoreWeave a lot. We've talked about CoreWeave on this show a lot, but 50 times sales at the end of the day yesterday, guys.
Yeah, well, you know,
boy.
put rational. When you're trading momentum, sometimes you have to take rationality out of this. This is what I wanted to do, was to be able to show you Figma versus Circle. Circle, the open trade was just as good on either one of them, but the continuation on Figma was so much stronger than even Circle's IPO. Yep. And on day 2 for Circle, it broke out the prior day high and then held it clean, which was also an anchored VWAP. So, and that continued over there. And like, here's the thing, whether that happens today on Figma, I don't know if it's going to give you a pullback into the prior day high here at about, it's like 124, 125, because that's aftermarket. So like call it 124, 125. The anchored sits somewhere in the teens, which is the opening rush. Those are areas where I'm looking to dip by. Like this initial high, close, those are the dip buy areas. Look for the mean reversion on Figma. If it's going to be a short, I paid for locates. I'm probably more willing to short some kind of parabolic move up than just try to sit in front of the moving train. But that's where I'm looking for the dips in Figma, prior day high, and then the open range tops as well. So trying to keep it very, very simple, take our pot shot at it, you know, get that one clean entry. If you can, like a little, if it does this, then you would get your clean entry in here, and then you put your stop underneath, just giving you an example of what it could look like on a dip. You risk a couple of bucks, and then you know what Figma can do. We can go 5, 10, 20, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for it to pull back into some of those levels, Neil, and give us some sort of signal or indication. I've already marked out some support and resistances from prior day right here, so that 100 reserve was very interesting, and we held that level quite well, and that was, again, a very large iceberg that held on the bid with aggressive sells that came in off of the halt up. So that was interesting to me. Reclaim of VWAP, nice little consolidation above some prior structure, and then a push into the end of the day, giving us the sign of some good strength, and then continuation into the after hours all the way up to 148.80s right there. That's where that high of after hours is sitting at. So like all-time high currently on this stock in terms of full range. But in terms of the open session, the all-time high, or the high of the opening session is sitting at 124.60. So on any sort of pullback, I'm going to see if any of these supports or resistances flip and flop and go resistance turn support, or support turn resistance. I'm going to continue to keep on watching this. Anchored VWAP from day 1 is currently sitting at 1732. Now I know if you have maybe some different data, that can be a little bit slightly different, but the idea is relatively the same. Can we come into some average prices of prior day? Do we catch a bid when price gets into the average price that the price that the average participant is sitting at from prior day? That's what I'm looking at. Some pre-market levels, the same thing, Confluence coming in with that bounce. You were talking about, Circle bounce off of prior day's high. We've already done that on Figma in the pre-market session right here. So that kind of action already being completed, and we've trended up pretty decently from there. So that trade is kind of gone, but I'm going to be continuing to watch this stock to see if it pushes through that 148.80, maybe taking it through that 150. But I'll be open. Maybe we get an opportunity to short, Neil, and maybe we start trading below the average, the volume weighted average price from yesterday, and maybe catch some players offside there as well. So who knows? It was extremely oversubscribed. We talked about how 40 times oversubscribed. The IPO price was $33. It opened up at 85s. Closing with a high of 124s. Let's see what this one has in stock for us today. We know Circle gave us some great moves on day 1, day 2, day 3. Like, it was a great trading vehicle, and I expect nothing less from Figma.
Amazon trying to get back to the upside right now as well. It held 215, 215 was a bit of a level here in the pre-market. We're trying to bounce a little bit. This was just one of many headlines. Talking about AWS specifically, Andy Jassy coming out saying they have more demand than they have capacity for at this point, but it was specifically this that hurt these numbers.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have because you can always add capacity, Brendo. So let's talk about how they did. Really, it was AWS, the only bad thing here. Q2 EPS, $1.68, beating the $1.33 expected on revenue of $167 $0.7 billion, easily topping the $162.09 expected. Q3 operating income guidance here, $15.5 to $20.5 billion. Missed though, Brendo, that $19.5 consensus midpoint. Let's talk about their Q3 revenue guidance. They're guiding about $174 to $179.5 billion for the next quarter. In line, but not exciting enough for investors. Now let's talk about what happened here. Amazon Web Services, AWS, only grew, and I say only here, and you'll see why in a second, 18% year over year. But when you make the comps to Azure and Google Cloud, Azure grew at 39%. We got that a few days ago from Microsoft, and Google Cloud grew at 32%, so 18 decided drop there. Amazon did reiterate plans to spend up to $100 billion on AI infrastructure this year. They didn't give guidance on 26. Investors, though, remain skeptical about the short-term return on investment from the aggressive spending. But one really bright point here, Brendo, their ad revenue jumped 23% year over year. They're now the #3 digital ad sales, obviously behind Meta and Google. Not a bad look there. They printed about $15.75 billion, beating estimates there. And last but not least, the actual thing that I use it for, retail. And how'd that do? 11% year over year bump, $61.5 billion revenue above the estimates. Seller services also climbing, Brendo, about 11% year over year.
Which is not terrible on that side of things. We were just checking here. We're getting back into some pretty significant levels here from on the way down after the close yesterday. 220 could be a bit of a problem for this thing, guys. But still, I mean, if you zoom out here on a daily chart, it could be a lot worse here for Amazon.
Yeah, look, it's obviously to say it's broken trend is anybody can observe this on the daily chart. It's broken the trend on the daily chart in a big way. That I do not like that cloud number, and that's the thing that sticks out in my head. If you're over 30% with the other two, there's only 3 big cloud names, and they're over 30% growth, and you come in the teens, and that's just not going to cut it. If we get down to 210, try to keep it simple. If Amazon's down 10% and I don't try a bounce play, then that whole idea of an SSR bounce is invalid. It's exactly the kind of stock that you try it on. And if it gets down to $210, it most certainly will be. It would be SSR at 211. So that's the first place I'm thinking if we head lower. That said, it's already bouncing. I don't know how likely that's going to be. When it's filling in the gap, then the only shorts are usually at prior big levels. I know you said 220 there, Brennan, and the other level I'd look at is about 223 in here. So it's nowhere near any of the levels that I want to trade it at. It's not where I would fade it. It's nowhere near where I would go to buy the dip. So I'm probably sitting Amazon out. We talked about Apple. I'm more likely to trade them. Figma certainly will trade. And we got a super chat, which I can quickly answer. TD Baker, what happened to Hood this morning? Coinbase disappointing earnings, and the market's down, which we'll get to Coinbase as well.
Yeah, no. All right, so guys, VinFast game in Indonesia. Execution, they just locked in 3 more service partners, Nawalis, Warna-Warni Band, and Raperind, bringing 19 new workshops into their EV service network. Add in AutoClicks and BOS, that's a total of 181 certified service centers nationwide. This is how you scale confidence and capacity. With infrastructure like this, that 200,000 EV delivery goal isn't just ambitious, it's looking very real. So, VinFast.
Get it fast.
Amazon, fast to the downside here, 213.60s, but interesting level that it's coming into, Neil, because you know I like my anchored VWAPs a little bit here, so I'm going to turn those on and take a look at which anchored VWAP it's bouncing off of. So this bottom one right here, I have at 213.66s, and this is current earnings. The current earnings anchored VWAP is sitting at 233s from the flush down. Now, if we scroll a little bit further back, this bottom anchored is coming from the prior earnings report. So anybody and everybody who was long is sitting at the average price of 213.59. So that's as a cumulative. So we came right into that and we're bouncing off of it. So I kind of like that look. Let's see if we break down this consolidation low, pre-market lows on Amazon. If not, do we take a little bit of a bounce into today's anchored VWAP? Those are the questions that I'm asking coming into the open there. But definitely very interesting price action here on Amazon. I'm definitely primed for some moves.
Reddit continuing to hold some levels to the upside here. Every single one of these analyst notes this morning is a price target increase, and there's probably 10 or more at this point for RDDT. Everything to the upside. Absolutely monstrous numbers here for Reddit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just not ready
No worries.
because Katina usually takes a lot longer to talk. So
Come on, Sean.
yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. Let's talk about Reddit over here. So, all right. All right, so here's the deal. Sorry, I'm just going to be as open as I can be. So Reddit did quite well. EPS of 45 pennies on 19 expected. That's a major profit beat, Brendo, on revenue of $500 million, which is a 78% bump year over year and 17% above the consensus estimate. Net income, you were wondering how they make money. They brought in about $89 million, Brendo, versus the $10 million they brought last year on their quarter, and they're guiding Q3 revenue higher, 535 to $545 million. Their global daily active users, now 110 million, up 21% year over year. US revenue about $409 million, $91 million international revenue. Their Reddit Answers, though, it's a new AI tool they're trying out called Reddit Answers. And they've got 6 million active users on that. And the tool will expand globally. It's trying to position Reddit as a search. So we were talking off camera about how the traffic from Google is actually down to Reddit. Well, they're trying to be the domain, Brendo. So that's kind of their look there. And they also have traffic issues, as I mentioned, traffic headwinds coming from Google. They did notice a bit of a drop there, but they noted it could be a one-off event.
If AI is being trained off Reddit,
Yep.
and I can go to any AI and basically get an answer from Reddit, why am I going to Reddit?
That's a great question, and that's what Adara was actually saying off camera. They're actually becoming the destination.
Right.
So
I mean, I get the community aspect and the conversational aspect of it, and if you want to go and interact and read comments and that type of thing. But for the actual information itself,
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, look, I don't use Reddit a lot. But I know that I've fallen into the bucket of I got the app on my phone because it was so much more convenient. And maybe that is going to hurt them in terms of drawing new people in. But what we do know is the numbers are fantastic. I think you stick with the momentum until the momentum tells you something otherwise. And this is, as far as, it's a ridiculous breakout, but it's still a breakout into a new area. It falls into that category. And the prior high you're not going to get. It's 925 already. Prior high you're not going to get unless something crazy happens. It's this high going back over to March, about $170. That's so far away. But that's, to me, if we fall, that's the gap fill area on Reddit, $170. So that's what I'm going to be clued into. And Chef Joe, just to respond to your question, I don't know, I'm hoping you saw it in the chat when I responded, but if we could get Sydney Sweeney to read the ads, rest assured we would. And if anybody knows Sydney Sweeney,
Oh my God.
to get her to come to Trader TV just to read ads, I don't know why that's how you'd utilize her talents, but yeah, we would do that if we could. But until then, you're going to have to put up with my ugly mug and the handsome young gentleman next to me. That's just how it rolls, everybody. So yeah, no, I like Reddit. I just don't know if we're going to get. When we gap like this, just look at what happened to Roblox yesterday. Like, Roblox spent the entire day just essentially fading back in. The whole day fading back in and didn't even fill in the entirety of the gap. So if we get to 170, I'd look long on Reddit, but other than that, I'd probably step off.
Yeah, so I like Reddit for a potential push. We can see that it's already holding some of its pre-market levels in confluence with the anchored VWAP. Let's just go up to a higher time frame as well. Again, earnings report. It was okay, a little bit of a double beat, but pushing up into, past these prior highs. So we're already breaking out of this high right here, pushing even higher, all the way up to 230s. I don't know if we're gonna get there today, Neil, but we are already in a bit of an uptrend, and this earnings report has given us a strong continuation push to the upside. So 230s, I don't know about that happening just right away, but taking a look at the 15-minute chart, pulling back up into some of those levels. Let's just take a quick see if we can find any sort of levels of resistance. I don't know if why that's not working. Here, let me just refresh the page right here. See, I can talk a little bit slower as well and take up a little bit more time.
We only have 2 minutes to the open.
No, I know. I'm trying to pull up the hourly chart. Here we go. Boom. So, okay, where is the next resistance level right here? You can see right here some strong selling that came in. Right here, 189s, 190s. That's within range of what today is capable of doing. So let's see if that can potentially come in. We already tested those levels, and supply did come in off of those 190s. So the question becomes, how well do we hold this anchored VWAP going into the open today, Neil?
Coin.
Make session lows here on Coinbase, which is kind of surprising. Lots of negative comments here. Everything in red essentially is to the downside here from analysts on Coin today. I mean, you were making a pretty good point here on this earnings report specifically this morning, in that there's not a heck of a lot that should be pointing in this direction right now.
Especially when you make the comps with Robinhood, with SoFi, and how well they did. You expected Coinbase, excuse me, to perform better, but they didn't, Brando. Let's talk about what happened here. One of the silver linings is their revenue continued to grow. Q2 revenue was about $1.5 billion, but that missed the 1.6 expected by the street. So top line missed there. Adjusted EPS did beat, though. They printed $1.96. The street was looking for 126, but the silver lining, they took $1.5 billion in Circle profits from the Circle IPO, and they added it to that. So without that, you might be wondering here whether they would have beat on EPS. Net income spiked to $1.43 billion, but as I mentioned, boosted by $1.5 billion unrealized gain from the Circle IPO. Trading revenue came in below estimates, $746 million. The street was looking for $787. Retail trading volume also rose 16% year over year, but again, falling short of the $48.5 billion expected by the street. Subscription and services revenue hit $655 million, but missed the $705 expected by the street. Stablecoin revenue, $332.5 million, in line with expectations. Coinbase does benefit from 100% revenue share with USDC and 50% off platform for the Circle deal.
Happy Friday. We are kicking off August in a bit of a mixed note right now. Let's get over to Adara.
Last bell of the week, but it's the first bell of the month. Adara, ring it in 2 and 1. Let's go. Just very quick note, obviously, on Coinbase there. I like Robinhood for a fade today, not necessarily Coinbase. Coinbase flushing already, but Hood under the $100 level, we're trying to grab it. So I'm looking for a pop in Robinhood to see if we can't fade into 100. And then Tesla, we talked about this last night, $300 on Tesla. If we got it, we'd look for a bounce. And of course, the flush through 300 makes a lot of sense. Figma not doing much off of the open. And if you're looking at the chip names, NVIDIA's already to the downside. But I prefer AMD trending down the entirety of the day. I don't need that trend line. That pops into prior lows, looking for fades in AMD. I don't know what happened to the giant mallet, though. We had a personalized mallet. Not personalized. We got a new mallet from a viewer. And it's gorgeous. It's all good. It's all good. Sometimes we got to kick it old school and not use the mallet. It's a very, very cool mallet.
That is a really cool mallet.
But market's right through the lows again.
Yeah, some judgments being made with that mallet there. Robinhood coming in into 95. So I'm just observing right off of the open. Oh boy, wow, what a flush on Robinhood. Let me pull that one up right here. Okay, cool, yeah. 95 just cracked through pretty aggressively, so that opening drive coming in real hot right off of the open. So 94 is now coming in on Hood. Alphabet pushing up off of the open, Robinhood pushing down. This is not the basket I'm looking for. I'm looking for, okay, that's what I'm looking for. So Amazon. Amazon is catching a little bit of a bid. So we talked about Amazon being in a bit of an interesting area, holding that anchored VWAP from prior earnings, and we're getting a bit of a bounce coming in off of the open there. Not only on that, Apple pushing up a little bit higher as well. So got to keep a watch on that. Can't forget that Apple also had earnings, even though the reaction off of the earnings was a little bit lackluster. Yes, Coinbase coming into the downside as well a little bit. So part of the sector, I guess, of Hood, Riot as well had earnings this morning, and that's coming down. Did they have earnings this morning? Never mind. I don't think they. Yes, they did. No, yeah, okay. So they did have it last night. So I was like, I did have it on my notes. It didn't show up here right away. But we're getting that continuation, beautiful, into the open here. But guess what? I only have
Bye-bye,
one
Figma.
stock, on watch to see what it actually does, and I think there's a lot of learning to be had on Figma coming into 138. So catching a little bit of a bid coming into the open here. Let's see if we can break through some of those pre-market highs. That's pre-market highs sitting at 142.91. We haven't got through 140 just yet. Just knocking on the door of 140 here. There it is. Oh boy, 141 instantly on the push through 140. Talk about a breakout there, Neil. 141's coming in real hot. 142.
High 43 change.
Yeah, 43 change? I have, okay, yeah, no, you're right. 4 a.m. high, yes, 40. Actually, the 4 a.m. high is sitting at 147.30.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm talking about the one since 7 o'clock.
Yeah, since 7 o'clock.
There's like two waves in the pre-market. You look at like after 7 o'clock or after 6 a.m., and then you have like from the actual pre-market open at 3 a.m. So there's always a bit of a discrepancy. I'm looking at the first one over there on Figma. Apple is a bit of a frustration zone. You got to be kidding me, Apple. It did bounce to 10. Man, if we get there again, I don't know how much I'm going to like it. It bounced to 10, and I wasn't quite aggressive enough. It's coming right back in. I got to look for that AMD short more than catching the falling knife on Apple. AMD does not get up to anywhere near the prior day high in its push. It just failed the 171, so I might just have to take it in front of the 171. And of course, Figma ends up not breaking out through that high OB, so we're not going to be in Figma just yet. I know a lot of people will be looking at Figma for a trade. It's super volatile. We can short it, but we had to pay for locates to go short on Figma. That's the one thing. They were relatively cheap, but here at Real Trading, we have the ability to go short. I know a lot of people were complaining they can't short the stock if they wanted to.
Yeah, no, I'm already participating in it a little bit here, Neil. Let's see what'll come out of this one. And couldn't really break through that 140 right away. Oh boy, here we go, 135s. Hey yo, coming in real hot there. So yeah, let's see if we can get down to that anchored. But I'm kind of seeing if it can hold any of these pre-market levels. Opening range low coming in at 130, what is that, 132s. The low that was printed right before the open in the pre-market was 132.26, so that's coming in real hot. Oh boy. 134. So let's see if we can get down to 130s now, Neil, with the bid just cracking all the way to the downside. Here we go. 130s. Can we get a little bit of that size getting taken out? Only about 300 lots at that 130. And oh boy. All right. You know what? Thank you. Let me just take that off.
Take that.
And let's reassess there. So that's a nice little opening scalp all the way from 140s to 130s. Oh boy, I wish I had a little bit more on that one. But like I said before,
Where did it look like?
Not the trade that I'm looking for.
What did it look like at 30? I didn't see it at that 30.
So there was 300 lots at 30. It's the first kind of size that shows up. But the failure to follow through into that 140, 143, we were talking about some of those pre-market levels. We defined some of those in the morning right here. This is what I'm talking about. Trend break, right? Support all pre-market, Neil. Support all pre-market, comes into that, false breaks this, holds that as resistance once again in the pre-market. It shows us that there's maybe a little bit of supply there. Right here, a little bit of a double top, comes in right into that area, and I like it for the pullback down. Honestly, I was looking to punch long if it broke with any sort of significance, but it's coming in real hot, and so is this market. So that 130 might get taken out just now. Let me pull up the tape for you guys. I know this is an open tape down here. Let me pull up Fig so we can take a look at the, wow, oh my God. The 130 break gives you 128.
Like
holy! I gotta learn to hold some of this, man. Oh boy,
that was probably like the all-day entry.
Yeah. Anchored is sitting at 118.
The market just blew through some of the lows. Wow, that was insane. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm looking over at AMD here, and it just caught a bid at 170. A couple of times. So I had the short there in front of the 171. I don't really need that trend line, but that's a failure of the pre-market high. As the market is breaking, this is holding higher lows. So maybe it goes further, but like you, I just scalped out of it because it's looking relatively strong. But that Figma is really losing the bid. And what's also going on here with the market falling, CoreWeave down 8%. I guess it's like sympathy short on the recent IPOs. Yo, that is nasty. Coinbase now down 13% and just broke 325. Wow. Unfortunately, we were able to get that, thank goodness, AMD for the buck, and I'm glad we took it because it's still bouncing. Robinhood does not give in to 100 for any kind of a short. But now it's at the volume weighted average price. If we close this candle holding VWAP underneath after a bit of a bounce, instead of getting the short up here, we'll just look for a continuation play. But that's going to be the next opportunity for myself. Sometimes the spidey sense matters. Just going to show you AMD still bouncing off 170. If I see an obvious buyer at the open on a stock that's relatively strong and I'm short, I get out. It's that simple. Sometimes it looks stupid, but then other times it looks a little bit better, like that just did. Well, that was crazy, that 130 break. I wish I had better eyes on it over there in Figma. The other thing is Apple still holding 210, despite the fact the market is heading lower. You've still got some relative strength. Apple didn't move much on earnings, but it also didn't move down overnight on all this tariff fear. So I'm going to like this Apple if I can catch this in front of that 210. As long as the market doesn't go parabolic to the downside, this is one of the few names that's holding up a little bit.
Yeah, this thing is still coming down 127, so just about almost $10 away from its anchored VWAP. But Hood is catching a little bit of a bounce off of that 95 area and trading at 96s now. Market catching maybe a little bit of a bid as we close into the final 5 minutes roughly of this 15-minute candle. We're attempting a bounce off of 23,000 here on the Nasdaq, and the ES kind of on top of that 6280. But I'm paying closer attention to the Nasdaq here as it is at a little bit more of a whole rounded number. Wow, 125s. I gotta hold this, man. I gotta hold this. It's flushing. The bids are getting hit. All I see on the tape, like, guys, look at the tape here. It's all mid prints and, well, it could change as soon as I say that, of course, but it's all mid prints and straight reds. Now we're getting some greens here on top of 125, so maybe a quarter bounce on top of the 100. We saw how strong that reserve was at 100. The question I'm asking today, Neil, is do we have a reserve that steps up even higher? So
remember,
we'll see.
anchored's not till 117.
Yeah, I have 118.43, but yeah, that area right there. So let's see if that can come in well within range of what Fig is able to do. What's up, Adara?
Take a look here at ATEC. It's a smaller cap name, about $1.5 billion. Market cap roughly 11%. Short float right now trading around $13. And this name did report earnings, so double beat, including an unexpected profit for ATEC. Nice push to the upside. A good look here for a small cap earnings play. And again, guys, 9:45 a.m. we will be getting S&P manufacturing PMI. I will cover that for you guys. Back to you.
So Figure just lost a bit, but Apple will end up 1 for 2 off the open. Apple loses 210. It did try to come back into 211, but now you're really flushing to the downside. So even the muted strength that you had in Apple is abating. But what's interesting, at least it's interesting to me, would be advanced micro devices. Like, we're flushing in the market, and this is still holding on to the bid a little bit here. So a little bit of strength relatively in AMD. I'm not really seeing, it's down 3%, I get it. It's really not that strong. Like, NVIDIA's underneath the volume weighted average price and pressing to those lows. And AMD is still holding this 170. I'm not going to take a break through the 170, but if I see any sellers underneath, I probably rejoin this trade on a tight stop. And it looks like, yeah, they just broke it. Let's see what the buyers do. They bought it right back to 170. That's why I didn't want to take a break at that price. They brought it right back into the 170, hold underneath, and then I'll take a shot at the short. Like, this is a market. At the end of the day, just because the dollar was going down doesn't mean the market has to go up. It's never really that simple. And oh my goodness, 120 coming in here, Obi?
120, I'm watching.
Figma is just tanking.
Straight tank series.
I guess maybe they didn't love it that much.
I think people are probably also chasing in off of the open.
You think
right?
so?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There was definitely an attempt to push through that 140. I like that trade. And the tape that turned on the back through, that was absolutely beautiful. But I don't have, I guess, any shares left. I covered the last piece on top of 130, but 120s. So, oh boy, here we go. 118's area is that anchored VWAP. Let's see if we hold any sort of significance in and around there. 120's holding right now with a little bit of shareage there. 135 lots, breaking right through that 120, going to 119 halves now. So yeah, a little bit of a bounce here happening on Figma. But let's see if we can hold that 120 with any sort of significance. I'm going to let it show me that it has the ability to bounce off of there. Let's see if it can build some structure on top of 120 and start to step up. I want to see buyers start to take control. Sellers are the only ones who have been in control off of the open after that attempt through that 140. We're getting a little bit of a bid. Let's see if we can consolidate a little bit higher for a stair-step reversion back up. But yeah, this is kind of similar to what we saw on the Circle, but like we said, it didn't really come in to the prior day's level.
Well, Circle broke out
until later.
First.
Yeah,
this happened on Circle on day 2 a little bit later. Yeah. But like just to give you guys a retrack what's going on here, like the NQ is now down almost 2% and continuing to flush. While I did jump back into AMD when it finally lost that 170 level, the other thing that we got to pay attention to is Tesla's almost at $300. So you know that's a big one. The last time Tesla was here, we had a bounce off of 301 that was famously, maybe not famously, but it was unceremoniously missed by myself and Sean because we were waiting for 300. I might have been bidding 42s. I think he was bidding 50s. But if we bounce off the 300 level on a Friday, I'm going to take my shot at it. There's pretty much no question to that. So AMD just broke through 168. So check that 169 and the 68. That's continuing to flush there. That 170 finally came in. If we wick the bottom, I might take my trail out because we got to focus on Tesla at the 300 level as well. Just wild action, but mostly to the downside. Amazon's holding up pretty well here, Obi. I know you used to like that stock, but my eyeballs are now on 3 things: AMD, which we're in, Tesla 300, and of course Figma. It might have just caught that bid at 120 instead of the anchored. I was waiting for the teens. I think it caught it at 120.
So I have anchored at 118.55. It bounced off of 119.12. So
that's
pretty close. Like you got to remember, you can't expect it to bounce off of the line.
No, that's not.
It's an area. Yeah. So it's an area. So it did come into that area, and we're seeing some demand come in. But I want to see some confirmation. I want to see it hold. Let's see if we can, like you guys have heard me say this multiple times, can we hold the quarter? Can we hold the quarter and then print the half? I'm looking at that 125, a strong hold on 125 to see if we can push through that 150 later on in the day. Let's let it consolidate. I like the hold on top of anchored so far. It's showing me what I want to see so far. Let's see if we see more of the same. And we got numbers coming up with Adara.
S&P Global Manufacturing PMI 49.8, a little bit lower than the previous print here of 52.9, a little bit above the consensus and forecast of 49.5. Market just continuing to drop lower here on this print. Again, Nasdaq here below 555 as we get that S&P Manufacturing PMI print. Again, slightly above estimates, slightly below the previous print. Back to you.
Much, Daryl. I just rang register on AMD as that was coming out. I had my trail back through. It tagged it bounced off 168, which was our next target in. Just you zoom it out. This is how I roll station to station pretty much every single time. Like if I'm short there, I'm looking for the bounce there, put my trail in. If we lose 168, there's still room down to 166. So we've been in a couple of times to the south side on AMD, which has worked, and Apple, which did not, to the long. But I'm staring at Tesla. Is it really doing it again? Like it bounced off 301 when we're looking 300. Is it going to bounce off 302 when we're looking 301? That's really happening? Like Tesla, that's cold. That's straight up cold-blooded. But if that's how you want to play a Tesla, fair enough. You have your plan of action. I'm not one to generally stray away from it, so maybe we're not going to get down to 300, much to our chagrin. And if it bounces from here and goes to VWAP and then retests the low, I feel like the bounce has already happened. So like I said, I'm only really looking at some chips here. Figma has yet to follow through on the bid. It could have already happened. This could be happening here at the 120 instead of those teens. Like this might actually be your shot here. This is breaking trend if it can hold 122, it looks like.
Yeah, no, getting involved with a little bit of hood here as it breaks down the opening range low below 94s, and oh boy, the bids are really getting smacked around on this one here. Market as well. We talked about that 2300. That's getting pushed into as well. Ryan Nola saying, "I hate Netflix already." Thank you for the super chat. We can take a look at some flakes here and see what's up with that one. Let's see. let's pull up some of that flake. So this is what I was looking at here on Figma. We're still consolidating on top of that anchored VWAP. Got stopped out of that hood for now. I kept it pretty tight. I didn't want to see it go back through that one, through that 94 too aggressively, but it's still pretty weak.
I want
to get better. Yeah, I want to get better prices there. If it's going to pop back up to VWAP, I'll take a look at that one as well. Let's take a quick look at NFLX and see what our friend is talking about here. And oh boy, a little bit of a chop. So yeah, maybe understandable. Definitely doing some relative volume in the pre-market after a strong red day here. So yeah, interesting look on this one. So let's see, what else we got? We got Jason with the super chat as well. Thank you, saying thank you for all you do. I was in that FIG trade. What do you use to measure momentum to figure out when it's dying down? Tape. Straight up. In that moment, the chart is, well, here's the thing. It's a little bit of everything, right? And we'll get right back to that explanation after Neil. Are we?
Yeah, absolutely. Because on a day where the market's down 2% on the Nasdaq, if you are looking to boost your exposure, if you're Canadian anyways and savvy, then you can tap into the Nasdaq 100, even the S&P 500 with Beta Pro's 3x daily leveraged ETFs. With built-in FX hedging and big moves in Forex this morning. This aims to amplify your short-term market moves and minimize the impact of currency swings. Whether you're feeling bullish or bearish, like today, these ETFs are built for active day traders ready to take on the market. Read the full risk disclosure in the prospectus at betapro.ca before investing. I want to shout out to them. And obviously the market is falling heavily. Some things that are standing out here, like obviously, yeah, AMD is going further to the downside. Figma's now at $111. So if you were thinking absolute destruction, Marvell's down 7.5% on Marvell. Marvell goes SSR. I mean, give me a break. If Marvell goes SSR, it's going to be at a big support level around $72. AMD, yeah, that continues to go. Yeah, that's how it works sometimes. Sometimes I get out like yesterday and you get at the exact right moment, and other times it's going to continue. We've been short a couple of times here, and I don't know if we're going to get VWAP. You got out of hood. I'm still looking for the volume weighted average price on Robinhood, looking at Coinbase continue to flush. And just to answer the question, Ed George in the chat just asked me, what does SSR mean? So if a stock goes down 10% or more, then that day and the next day, the uptick rule is in effect. It's the short sell restriction, which doesn't mean you can't short. It just means if you want to enter a short position by hitting the bid, not sitting around and waiting to get filled, but actually actively hitting the bid, you can only do so if the last print was green. Well, if the stock is cascading down, all the prints are red, it means short sellers can't hit the bid to go short. It just makes it a little trickier. And sometimes bounces are a little bit better when a stock is in the SSR or in the uptick rule. So that is the case for Coinbase. If Marvell were to get there, if Amazon were to get there, I would certainly look at the long on either one of those two. Yeah, apparently it is $302 on Tesla for the second time here. Maybe it doesn't want that 300 level, which is just absolutely wild. Is that the turn on Figma? I keep looking for this curl.
That's a heavy bounce.
Figma.
That's a heavy bounce.
It's a pretty heavy bounce.
It's a $7 bounce off of it. But like I said, I was seeing what I wanted to see, and then I stopped seeing it when it cracked through some of those 118. So going back to the question, I think it was Ryan, no, not Ryan, Nola, Jason in the chat. What do you use to What do you use to measure momentum to figure out when it's dying down? So here's the thing. If you're a big part of tape reading and what helps me with tape reading is recording the tape and going back after hours and just watching it over and over again and seeing the change of hands between buyers and sellers. So here's the thing. Part of it was getting lucky based off of the preparation. I was just like, all right, let's define some levels. We had some highs and lows from prior day, and then we had some pre-market highs as well. I didn't really put a line up here, but we had a little bit of a double top in that 143 area, and we come into that level. I'm expecting this pre-market trend to push and continue and push right through 148. And when I see that not happen, coming into the open, we had aggressive pushes into the ask. So the ask is getting taken out. The tape is looking hella green right here. So another part of it is coloring your tape in an effective way so that you're able to read the order flow, right? So you want to see if people are getting aggressive with the ask. You want to see if people are getting aggressive with the bid. You want to see if there's a lot of mid prints going on and it's not really printing the bid or the ask, right? And then the flow of how that comes in. So when it was coming in, we were printing a lot of green into the push. We were sustaining on the bid. The bids were not really getting hit. It was more of the ask, even through the spread stepping up, almost seeing that the buyers are stepping up closer and the ask is pushing even higher, and seeing that kind of action and then watching that action dissipate. So that's where it's like, okay, the buyers are starting to kind of dissipate. Selling might start stepping into the bid. That'll look distinctly different on the tape. And people have told me this over and over again. Like,
it's not a science. It's not like scientific in that if you see it, a certain thing is always going to happen.
Oh, of course not.
You can absolutely get tricked by the tape. I'll give you a great, like just now in Tesla. Like when I was looking, I'm looking for a curl in front of 300 in Tesla, and ultimately I wanted it 300 for the buyers to come in, but I said if it goes at 302, after missing 301 the other day, I would take a shot. So it broke the trend, and I saw everything that you're talking about in the other direction. That being said, the second it tried to make that press into 303, all of that buying immediately started to evaporate. Now, this is a structured trade where, I mean, let's be real. I take this trade with my stop at prior bar every single time. So ultimately, like, I know exactly what I'm doing when I get into this trade, regardless of what the tape said, but the tape was just saying that we were reversing on Tesla and then goes right back underneath. So the shorts are still very much in control, and we might get to exactly 300 when we come back from Madeira.
Just a reminder, guys, we have some economic data coming at 10 a.m. We're going to get the University of Michigan consumer sentiment, which also includes the 5-year and 1-year inflation expectations and the ISM manufacturing PMI. Now, before that, I have another small cap for everyone. Tenon Medical, this one's run before, TNON. Today, nice push higher, announcing that they've acquired the sacroiliac joint-specific assets from Cyvantage. So looks like an asset acquisition here, sending TNON to the upside again. At 10 a.m., we will get some more economic data, so stay tuned. Back to you.
Ooh, it's a data kind of day. We didn't like the data that what's crazy about it is in theory, the bond market was telling you kind of like the chance at rate cuts based on the data that we got this morning. The market just doesn't seem to care. Like, you're not catching any bids, and it doesn't have to work that way. Sometimes fundamentals or your usual relationships aren't going to hold, and maybe the tariffs are going to do that to us. That being said, we are catching a little bit of a bounce here in at least the chip names. NVIDIA and AMD are bouncing. I'm watching NVIDIA get close to 173. They're coming into VWAP at about the same time. So that's the first place I always look for a continuation. If we jump into a short and we're looking for a continuation for the rest of the day, the first spot is the volume weighted average price. But you have to acknowledge this is a hefty V-shaped bottom now starting to come in here. So I want to make sure we get a curl. Like, I wait until I see the fail break of the high and ideally get in on the other side of the trade and not too early out in front of VWAP. I'm willing to miss the trade to make the trade into the volume weighted average price here on this particular name, at least on AMD. That's the plan of action. I can be a lot of times if I wanted to be more aggressive, I'd be shorting Intel because it's just weaker, but it's not even bouncing at all. It won't even let me into the short, everybody. And shout out to thank you so much for the super chat. Market can go down. Nobody told me. This is the tricky thing. When you've been around a really long time, you've seen all different types of markets, it can be an advantage. If you started trading only in a bull market and you've never really experienced like when the market does go down, especially on an open like this, it can be tricky, but it's good experience. Even if you sit it out and just watch the tape, or you scalp trade, get in, get out, don't try to hit, some kind of home run. Like, once you get your target, just take it out and then look for that next trade. That can be a big way to gain some insight. And here's another one that I know. If you were looking at NEO in the chat, somebody let me know what they saw at $5. And I'm curious if it was did someone just park a few million shares at $5 to have it turn exactly at that price? I wasn't watching NIO, but it's not often that you see that kind of a move. Like, yesterday's high wasn't respected. It just broke right through, got to exactly $5, and then started dumping. I only ask that because if it goes back to 5, I'm curious. Like I want to be able to compare if it gets there, the size that was there at the open and the size that's there if it gets the second time. Because I might take a punch long if it was any good size.
Yeah, no, this Figma seems like it's trying to attempt some of those prior highs there. VWAP's all the way up at, let's see where VWAP is. 130s, Neil. So, oh boy, a little bit of a push all the way up into VWAP. Let's see if we can get there. I'm looking for a sustain of some of these prior levels here. But if sellers step right back in and continue to hold control, I'm definitely going to be a little bit wary of that. I know I'm punching in a little bit higher than I'd really like to, but let's see if we can kind of crack some of these prior levels here. Nice consolidation at that 125. Let's see if we can get that reversion up into 125 here on Figma. It's holding pretty nicely from the bid off of the bottom there, but that's all the way down at 110s. Let me know in the chat what you guys are trading, and I want to take a look at some of those stocks as well. I know some traders had some amazing shorts off on the Qs and the futures here off of the open there. So let's hear it. Those of you who trade the futures and the spider and things like that, I want to know what you guys are trading. Make sure $sign and throw that in there, and we can take a look at the leaderboard in a second. Neil, I think Neil has it up.
Oh, let me just hit the refresh on that bad boy, see what everyone's looking. Oh, I for one am shocked. Figma and Neo. Figma is number 1. You got Amazon, Neo, Nvidia, SoxS. Apparently no one, Tesla's in there it's at the 300 level, so you know I'm back into Tesla because I waited for that 300 level. SoFi getting their coin. Open Door had some movement as well, so makes a lot of sense. The only one that I did not keen on, that's the only one that I'm like, oh, really? Tenon. Don't know what's going on with that. We'll check back in and see if that's still the same. But that's one that I have not looked at this morning. Everything else on that list certainly makes sense, but the market continues to drop. Tesla right into the 300 level, which I guess we shouldn't be too surprised it's going to want to test it. And trying to bounce. Not doing much of a bounce, but it's at least making an attempt. I didn't get that AMD. Didn't quite push into the volume weighted average price. It curled at 69. If you see me in, Tesla just broke 300.
Oh boy.
Ooh. Right back on the bid. Right back on the bid. I want to give it this is to me a lot like that 170 area on AMD. I didn't enter the short again until I saw the sellers start to win. So I'm not going to enter back in the long until I see some buyers back above the 300. I know we have happening now in some numbers with Adara, so I guess let's go there.
Let's see here what we get. We have quite a few numbers, as I mentioned earlier. University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment forecast 62. ISM Manufacturing PMI forecast 49.5. We're also expecting some 5-year and 1-year inflation expectations. Let's start here with the I have ISM Manufacturing PMI first. We'll start with that. Lower than expected, 48 versus 49.5 expected. Then we have University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment slightly below estimate, 61.7 versus 62 expected. 1-year inflation expectation higher than expected, which is usually not what the market wants. That means people are expecting higher inflation. They're expecting 4.5% 1-year inflation compared to 4.4% expected. 5-year inflation estimates, though, actually a little bit lower, which makes everything a little bit mixed, 3.4% versus 3.6% expected. Again, higher than expected or worse than expected 1-year inflation expectation print for the University of Michigan, but 5-year a little bit better, lower than expected University of Michigan sentiment and ISM PMI. The market does not like this print, to put it lightly. We last time here we were at 555 when we checked back in. That was be around 945. Now we're almost $2.50 lower at 552 halves. Figma on watch, FIG, blockbuster IPO yesterday, but already giving back, I guess, some of where we closed at, and certainly a lot of this gap up. Then we have tons of big ticket earnings names this morning. Apple giving up some of its early strength. Amazon as well was initially to the downside, though it did actually curl up a little bit at the open. Reddit, Coinbase, MSTR amongst the other day one's earnings plays. What a day, guys. And if you're enjoying all this action, join us on X, follow, subscribe, like us every day, and back to you.
Well, we're kind of bleeding now. So the battle at Tesla was pretty wild at the 300 level. It did bounce at least a little bit in there, but not much. Eventually, the sellers did win out. Kind of like that, like I said, that 170 on AMD. You could sort of see them try to hold it, and then like once it got released, I didn't get a very good price on the way back down. That's the thing. If you If you just take the break, then you're short. You could have had like 99, 99. It was back and forth. You could have really just had 300. But if you waited for some confirmation that it had flipped short in the tape, then you end up with something like 299.70. I know to some people it's a distinction without a difference, but it does matter. The market just not really trying to hold. I really missed that shot on AMD. That's going to be annoying. But I know you're in it. But let's be real. I want to get into this. Figma. This hold here is an anchored VWAP hold. So it's an anchored VWAP bounce play, and it should be long in there. And if I'm only going to get long off the 120, giving it to 118, then that's what I'm going to do. Because VWAP is $7 away from here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a distance.
So it's a very, very big move to the volume weighted average price. You can give up a couple bucks to try to get that. And it held, as far as I'm concerned, it's now held that AVWAP from yesterday in the teens. So I'm taking my shot here. Ideally, I wanted 20s. So the fact that I'm getting some in here at 121.5 means I'm willing to buy the rest at a better price if we're able to get it. But Tesla, it just bounced off 98. I want to see if we can't get to about 96, which would be a key level for Tesla. As far as the market goes, everybody, ES has broken through pretty much everything. The Nasdaq on a 60-minute, come on, PC load letter, get it, Nasdaq, there it is. We are through and just getting right down into mid-month lows. So the Nasdaq is at a potential bounce spot, but the ES not really doing so. We're going to hold this 120. It's holding 120. There's a bit of a refresher there, Obes.
Yeah, a bit of a refresher. I'm having trouble kind of really reading it.
Never mind.
I bought up the push into 122s, and I bought some more down into the 118s on that pull in. And yeah, I like that anchored VWAP hold, but I didn't really like what it was doing there. I was looking for it to push right away, but it didn't really quite do that. It's still kind of consolidating. So if it's going to consolidate, you can see right here. This is a 8 EMA or 9. I think it might be a NEMA right here, 9 EMA, and it's holding it. So I want to keep that into consideration as well. It's a trend indicator, right? So if we can't really reclaim above this trend that we've been holding to the downside, then I kind of want to piece off a little bit as well. We attempted to push to 123s, didn't really quite make it just right away. But then again, I could be very wrong. Anchored VWAP is just right here. If you guys can see, this is also kind of sandwiching in between this 124.63 end of day high as well. We kind of rejected that on this bounce off of the anchored VWAP on the initial push, and then now we're consolidating a little bit higher. So again, more than willing to take a couple of shots at this one and let it kind of work, let it show me what I'm looking for before really getting too aggressively involved. And oh boy, okay, so big smile. Thank you for the super chat here. Is this appropriate to read? He's saying, this market's more red than little Joey's face when his lady finds those pictures from the karaoke Campfire Bro Club's weekend. What does that even mean? Where's Prad? It's Free Fall Friday. In the words of Fahad, I am rich. Yes. Shout out to all our friends there. Shout out to Prad. Shout out to Fahad, and shout out to Joey Options as well. I have no idea what that even means. But you had some interesting times by the campfire, bro. I know. He just wants a big smile on his face. That's all it is.
What gets me is you fully said, I wonder if this is appropriate to read.
No, I thought.
And then didn't pause to read it before.
Because I read it. I did a quick scan. Come on.
Oh, did you though?
Come on now.
Oh, did you?
Yo, I can't wait till Neuralink.
Yeah, you can get on Neuralink.
I would read
first.
so fast.
Well, everyone.
And with all the AI, I would think about this. Think about the trading.
Right away,
a true hybrid trader, right? Literal cyborg trader we would become. I think that would be that. We're in for some interesting times. Pug Life saying Pratty Daddy punch and spray. Yeah, that's jokes. But
that was a good one. Big smile.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. We're coming back into 117. So this is what I'm talking about. The tape was pushing up into the ask. We stalled in the 123s, 123s multiple times, and then you just started seeing that tape kind of fall off. I had the tape nice and large here so you guys can see. Here's the thing. I'm not looking at the prices necessarily. I'm not necessarily looking at how much size is going through. I'm trying to read the rainbow. to be honest. And I have other filtered tape on the side here where it does show me size. So right here, I have it filtered for anything that's 1,000 lots. Is it 1,000 lots? Yeah, 1,000 lots and above. So actually 1,000 shares and above. And you can see here, this tape not really moving as aggressively. No one's see. There you go. We got Buddy punching in on a lit gate, 1,060 shares at 116, maybe taking the dollar push, right? And then that if that was a buyer, they're instantly in the money $1 now because we're printing 117s on 1,000 shares. So easy $1,000 right there for if that was a long through that level. So I'm watching different aspects of the tape, but more often than not, I'm just watching, trying to read the rainbow here, and the book maybe a little bit as
the rainbow.
Yeah, reading rainbow with reading rainbow with what's it, Lamar? Lamar.
Speaking
yeah,
of the rainbow, we might get a Christmas tree.
Oh boy.
Which is, you only get 2 colors on a chart, so I mean, whatever. Red and, I don't agree with I don't like the Christmas tree analogy because it doesn't make sense. Because you're red on one side, you're green on the other, and no one decorates a Christmas tree that way, so it's kind of nonsensical. But maybe
unless you're a trader,
I
can be like, this is the front side, this is the back side.
Like I know,
of the tree.
But literally, no one decorates a tree that way.
You know what? I'm going to decorate my Christmas tree.
But I will mention the reload in Tesla back through that 300 is now a fail. We flipped short, and that's how we're able to get some back. But then we tried it again, maybe kind of a tight stop trade in there. But that's how I'm going to roll. Obviously, Tesla still has a chance to hold 300. The reversal was more of a scalp trade. If we can close and hold under 3 bills, I don't mind jumping back into it. And I'm going to get to Mike Lowry super chat in a quick little second. I'm missing these pot shots on AMD, kind of looking for VWAP. So if it doesn't get into VWAP, I might jump back in if it can hold that trend line. So that's what I'm eyeballing. I'm still really only looking at the same names: Tesla, Figma, AMD from before. And Mike, your super chat, where'd it go? There we go. Apple sucks news and poops the bed. Why? Bruh. Well, the market's been bleeding. Sometimes maybe it's a late reaction to the overnight tariff news. The explanation almost doesn't matter. Just trust the price action. I try not to explain things after the fact, ultimately, but if the action's telling you something, like think Robinhood, right? Like when it was dropping after a good quarter, it was just dropping, and you had to wait till the charts told you to buy, ultimately. Otherwise, you just end up getting burned. Like with Apple, I took my shot off the 210, but this is the way I look at it. Like, I'm just never gonna cry when I get out at the right spot. Like, obviously, yeah, I could have been short, but I took a stock that was strong on the level I liked. Admittedly, had I got this price off the open, then we would have made $2, but I didn't because I was looking at Figma way too closely. But if we can bounce here on Apple, maybe that can come into the volume weighted average price as well. But I'm focusing on AMD, Figma, and Tesla. The other thing that we didn't ever get was Robinhood, which is also coming into the volume weighted average price. So the hooded one is starting to come right back in to VWAP. Down on sympathy, of course, to Coinbase's earnings, which were misses across the board.
Yes, sir. Yeah, a little bit of a push. That 120 was reserving quite nicely. I like that. We pulled back into 118s and then pushed a little bit higher. So let's see if we can come in and test some of these double tops. That's sitting at 122s on Figma. What's up, Adara?
Great look here for USA Rare Earths. In case you guys missed it yesterday afternoon, I did mention it this morning as well. There was a note suggesting that the Trump administration is going to be giving, money and support to more rare earths companies, not just MP Minerals, although I guess also continuing its support to MP Materials. Either way, USAR benefited from that. They rallied yesterday near the close. Today, rallying again, getting an overweight rating and $16 price target from Cantor Fitzgerald. So good look here for USAR. Back to you.
Seller step back, please. As I'm saying, we were just talking about I took the 119 long. Yes, 115 is the appropriate risk. I like that, but I'm just trying to tape scalp. Okay. The attention's definitely a little divided. right? And I think that I find it a little bit easier just to be like, if I can just visually just to be like, all right, green is go, red is no go for the long. And if I can just read that short term, I can take dollars off of this pretty quickly. And over the day, if I just keep doing that, maybe something will come out of it. Sure, the level to level, I might not be able to catch that way. That's a different kind of trade, but I like the tape scalps on this as of right now when I'm sitting here at this desk. Let's see if this 122 will come in and break. We were talking about that VWAP hold. Look, it's consolidating in and around that VWAP. So yeah, you got to give it some space if you're looking for that push all the way back up to 142s. Let it consolidate, let it build some structure, let it show you that the buyers are now in charge. We're coming up into VWAP, and VWAP's at 128. We could teleport there. That's only $5 away. If we break some of these consolidation levels, 124.63, that was prior day's high right there. That was pre-market, relative pre-market lows as well, in and around that area. And we got the first little bit of a bounce that we got from that aggressive selling, came into that 124 half area, and then flushed even further, so maybe showing us some selling in and around that area. So I do want to respect that unless and until we can get above that 124, 125 area. I really don't know if we can get to that VWAP aggressively, but again, that could come in really, really fast. We know how fast this thing can move, and here's that 124 now, Neil.
It just broke trend.
Let's see. Yeah, we broke trend a while back there.
Well,
yeah,
it depends on the trend line.
Yeah. I think if you got in 116s and risk to 110s, you're risking $5. Now you're almost $10 in money, so about roughly a 2-to-1 there. But I don't even look at that. I'm not when I'm getting into a trade. I'm not like, oh, is this a 2-to-1? Is this a 3-to-1? I think that's honestly irrelevant. Can I get into good places where I have appropriate risk and then look to see how?
Well,
far
you can eyeball those so easily.
Yeah.
I find over time you can eyeball it easily. So like here.
Like what am I
perfect
expecting?
Example,
right?
We just broke a wedge on Figma, right? So here's, oh yeah, it's on my chart. You guys can see that. So we just broke this wedge on Figma, and from this break to the volume weighted average price is like a clean like $5 or $4.50 to $5, and then you've got a stop underneath 122, which is a pretty tight stop, but that's the way to go. And then you have 125 in here as a first stop to get some out on the halfway. So you can do like napkin math to be able to tell that's a good risk to reward trade. But to me, you can just eyeball it. Like I can eyeball that space and understand my 22 stop is going to be good in that particular case. Now, obviously, if anyone, any trade in Figma is not the same as trading it yesterday. So there will be no just automatically get $10 in a couple of seconds. Like maybe that happens, but I'm not expecting it. And like anything you make will be a fraction of what you could have done in yesterday's trade. That's just how it is. And napkin math is like it's just a finance term, man. Where you just like you're eyeballing it.
125s.
It's like lazy stuff. Like sometimes you'll do that on like
Look at that.
like earnings or whatnot. Like you'll look at the EPS and you'll kind of eyeball where the price was and be like, oh, well, this is what it was before the valuation and this is the new numbers, and you'll just kind of eyeball what the math will be so you get an idea of what the valuation is that day. Anyways, napkin math is a real term. I didn't just make it up. Don't at me. So Figma, come on, get to VWAP. Here's the thing. When Circle was on day 2, it was way stronger when it bounced. Way stronger when it bounced than we're seeing here on Figma. Because the way it traded yesterday, I'm like, we get this break, it is going straight to VWAP on a 1-3-minute candle. Not stair-stepping. I don't want this to stair-step it up. As a matter of fact, I don't even want this going against me. Like there's such a distinct lack of, what's the word I want to use here? Parabolicness? No, that's not.
Aggression.
Yeah, there's a lack of aggression. There's a lack of aggression.
It's a grinding bid.
In the bid that I'm not expecting to get from Figma, which I find disappointing. So you're getting these types of entries, but they're not giving you like that really big blast to the upside. So like I took some out at 125, but I'm going to put a break-even stop. Maybe this just isn't as strong as we all want it to be. And that can be fine. Like, so what? If that's how it is, that's how it is. Yeah, I want to go back over to Apple was a fail at 210, and it's still trading down. So I guess they didn't like it after all. Yeah, I just trailed out on Figma. Did I get break even? Yeah, I did.
Nice.
That'll work. Okay.
So we're still holding above that prior structure, right? We kind of talk about like holding some structures. So
I just want to point out, Apple is now at its 50 period on the daily. Yikes. 205.5 is the 50 on the daily, and that's where it's trying to bounce. So if I usually like only pretty simple levels.
TQ's bouncing as well.
Prior highs or prior day highs, and then go out and find support and resistance. So I wait until Apple shows me something off of a big level, and then I try to get involved. So while I was getting out of Figma, I guess I might have missed this 206 entry in Apple, but this is what I try to do is I don't want to be long Apple all the way. I want to be a long Apple here where I like it, and then I want to wait for it to get to that next level if I'm going to take another shot at it. And that way, if only you get one of those that works, like you get once that goes to VWAP, and that'll wipe out this pretty easily. And that's the way I like to work it. But anyways, to each their own. Everybody, yuck. I just saw someone say that UNH is at a 5-year low. I know we've been saying UNH is just trouble. It's just trouble.
Thank you to...
Stay away.
Yeah, is it still selling off?
UNH is a heaping pile of...
Show me some beautiful red.
Yeah, it's...
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's not
what
good.
a continuation, dude.
It's not good. It's a short every single day.
Oh, that reminds me. What's CoreWeave?
Every single day. Tried to hold 250, flushes right back into the lows. Hey, it's holding the pre-market lows, so there's that. Thumbs up for UNH holding the pre-market lows.
Circle's down at 170s. You know, that's been a little bit of a level, right? Oh boy, can't miss this one while Fig is kind of moving around.
Up here.
Hood kind of reclaimed. I was looking for that VWAP hold. I was watching the 95s there. Didn't really come in. I liked the short below this opening range low, but that came right back in showing me the bid, and I was like, all right, well, I don't really want to participate any longer if that's going to be the case. And oh boy, we got a little bit of a push, right? We were talking about Figma here, push into that 124.60 area. We got to 125s, but pulling back, consolidating. So now, let's see. We held that anchored VWAP. We held some of that 116 from yesterday. We pointed that out as the initial day high, which was broken later on. Clean break, to say the least, on that 116.20 break, but we're holding some structures here as of right now, maybe building. Let's see what we do in and around that VWAP area. Can we get up to VWAP? Can we start consolidating 130s? And then maybe we're poised to take out the day highs. We'll continue to watch this one here. Oh boy, Hood coming in with potentially a full-on 100% reversion all the way back up to 98s, Neil. I think it's going to be interesting. It's at 98. I think it's going to be interesting at 100s because I think 100 might be an interesting level here. But coming in with, do I have an anchored on this? I didn't even put an anchored on. This is day...
Oh, no, wait. Did I just... Oh,
yeah, day 2 with an anchored that has not been put on. So let's quickly throw that anchored on as well. I have an old anchored here as well, but this is a 1-minute chart, not really doing that anchored justice. So yeah, that's okay, cool. We did break below that. Is that prior earnings anchored? I think it might be here. Actually, no. Something happened here on June 30th where we had an aggressively strong day, and that's what I have it pinned to. We can see that it did come in and respect that. We'll continue watching this Hood right after we get back from small cap recaps.
So it looks like that Robinhood move on June 30th, I believe it might have been there to catch a token event, but I'm not quite sure. That was when they announced the tokenized stocks. I'd have to look into that to clarify, but either way, I just wanted to address that. IWM is doing a great bounce here at that 212.29. Beautiful bounce, taking out a prior bar high, and looks like the bar before that as well. So good look here for IWM bouncing off the lows. TNON, Tenon Medical, as I mentioned earlier here, acquiring the sacroiliac joint-specific assets from SciVantage. Then we also have USAR. This is another one that I mentioned earlier, still really strong. Initiating cover. We have Cantor Fitzgerald initiating coverage on this one with an overweight rating and $16 price target after we had a report yesterday suggesting that the Trump administration is going to continue to help support, specifically, I guess, price support is what I was seeing for these rare earth plays in the U.S. Then last but not least, Aurinia Pharmaceuticals raising their fiscal 2025 sales guide. In their earnings report yesterday, they also had a beat. So AUPH, actually a day 2 earnings play, guys. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
The entire, I'll tell you, the entirety of Adair's read, Neo has been trying to follow through the $5 break. It is like, it's moving like absolute molasses on that 5 break. There wasn't even any size there, so ultimately ended up taking, when there wasn't a lot of size, this is counterintuitive, but when there wasn't a lot of size, on the break, I took some out, realizing, do I want to punch it at this time, a 10-20 break, when it's not like there was a bunch of people liquidated at the $5 level, but it's a double top over yesterday's high, so I'm going to take it 10 times out of 10. It popped to 4s. I was sitting at 4 in front of 5. I'll sit at like 8 or 9 in front of 10 and just see what it can do. But remember, their delivery numbers actually weren't good, and you've got overhead resistance at the 10, and if the 10 goes, then I think you want to see if it can't chew into the 15 to 25 range there on NIO. So anyways, took the break. I mean, when it got pointed out that it went to exactly $5, I see that double top, and we'll take a shot at it at this moment. I bet you open door is better on momentum. What's the volume? No, not really. I thought open might be a chance at a double top break as well. We'll see. That one has a chance, but it doesn't look like it wants to go. And Rusty Dutch, Coins news will drive it further down, in your opinion. Well, it's down 15% now. There's no question about that. It's lost the 50-period moving average. Somebody knew something at 380. Somebody was very certain at 385. We saw that the last couple of days. If you zoom it out far enough, until we get to 300, I might be inclined to agree with you. But my way of playing it was supposed to be the hooded one. And Robinhood is flying. Like it gave one shot at VWAP early and then did not the second time through. Robinhood is absolutely flying. They seem to not care on hood. And when I see that divergence, like the proxy that I'm using, like if I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, Robinhood's down because of Coinbase, and I put a short into one, I'm not giving it a lot of room if coin is still falling and Robinhood's going up. Now, I might say to myself, if I see...
Oh, my God.
What was it going? Sorry, go ahead.
Just the flush on Fig was just absolutely nasty. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but you're right about this,
It's
though.
holding that VWAP
There is
so well.
something very off about the bid in Fig today. I've only been long a couple times, and it's giving you some scalp trade opportunities, but there's something very off about the level of momentum in FIG.
I said this yesterday.
It's not there. Yet, it's not there.
I said this yesterday. I'm like, this while trading it, I was like, this is absolutely like high level rank, like ranked gameplay. Like if you play competitive games online, anything like that, Fig tape is absolutely high level rank in my opinion. Level to level, sure, it's giving you, if you can take out all that noise and just be like, all right, we're holding 110s, we're holding 120s, I'm looking for a push, then yeah, you clear out all that noise and maybe you're not really reading tape, you're looking for that push of that structure, and that makes it even better. But yeah, those of you who play League of Legends or even maybe a step above Dota can maybe understand Dota 2. It's a real-time strategy, but you guys might understand that lingo there. But yeah, no,
you know I'm up on that stuff,
absolutely,
man.
of course.
You know I know all that lingo. No, I have no idea what you're talking about. Which is and you should be hammering.
League of Legends is harder. I don't think so,
Hammer me
buddy.
on that. Because I'll razz you every now and then for not knowing stuff. I have no idea what you're talking about. No, I know I've ever heard of League of Legends, but like, every other word out of your mouth that wasn't League of Legends, I didn't understand.
So like when you play like ranked gaming, it's like you play and you get a score for winning and losing and winning and losing. Okay. So you create this sort of like, it gives you a score, and the better the player you are, you get a higher ranking. It's called ELO, and the higher number you get, it like chess has ELOs, right? So ranking in chess. So it's the same concept. It's the same concept.
The second you said
so
that,
higher the ELO, the higher the rank. So it's the same thing as chess. Chess is also very competitive, right? It's the same competitive game. So it's like you can relate it to that.
You know what also is competitive?
What?
The world of swing trading.
Oh boy.
And if you are in the world of swing trading or want to look for the opportunities in swing trading, then Trade the Pool swing trade programs. You can get access up to $40,000 in buying power to trade real shares, not those CFDs. You can hold positions overnight, over the weekend, and enjoy limited risk thanks to a one-time evaluation fee. No monthly payments, no hidden costs. Take Vicente J, for example, one of Trade the Pool's swing traders. Well, he locked in $23,000 in profits. His top performer was NMAX. He shorted it from April 20th to May 30th and pulled in $6,700 in gains. Trade the Pool is giving swing traders the tools, the time, and the capital to thrive. Scan the QR code and enjoy 10% off. Link in the description. Shout out to Trade the Pool. Shout out to the Christmas tree recovery in AMD. Well, AMD has broken structure. It was a short early. I keep getting rid of that trend line. It just the cat keeps on coming back. It was a short early, but this is now a hefty pullback and bounce play on AMD. This is why I guess I didn't jump back into the shorts. NEO, like I said, is like moving up slowly like molasses, so I'm just kind of getting some out on the way. But really, the lead is here on AMD and NVIDIA in terms of where the market move is, because the Nasdaq's trying to get to the prior low, and these things are trying to break it back out. So as we get to these resistance spots, you got to put things into some buckets. And as you just said, Figma is finally catching a bit of a bid here. Are you going to take this? No, I'm not taking a breakout.
Again, I think the 115, the anchored VWAP, if we bought anchored VWAP, that was the trade. And I did have buys on anchored VWAP. I just sold them way too early, that's all, because I'm doing tape scalps. I'm not really looking for level to level. I think that's the issue there. But yeah, finally coming into VWAP and breaking out, coming into 128.50s. I did try a cheeky little short on that 125, and I was watching. I'm like, all right, no, the bids are definitely stepping up here. I gotta get out of this one there. So only took I think less than $1 off of that one, 50 pennies I think, from the 125 to 124 and some change. But yeah. Bids coming right back up. The tape was very telling, and I was testing the waters in just underneath the VWAP, and that did not come in pretty nicely here. But yeah, coming into VWAP now, I have, so P-Pro VWAP is just a little bit lower. That's at 126s and some change. And I have VWAP here at 128.35. So that's actually testing that VWAP right now as well on my other charting platform. Hood is still holding 98s, Neil. So I'm watching this one. Sellers strong off of the earnings reaction. Sellers strong off of the open, but reverting off of that 93 double bottom hold. Pretty aggressive bid. Nice. I wouldn't call it a clean V-shape recovery, but a strong one to say the least. 100% reversion off of the opening range highs. 98s. That's what that was. Let's see if we can get up to 100. See if there's any size at 100. I know there's definitely going to be a little bit of an interest at 100. But guess what, Neil? Market's also bouncing, coming into that 23,000 that we were looking at this morning. So that's some good, strong confluence as well. Let's see what Apple is doing. I know that one had earnings this morning. So let's take a quick look on that one there. I didn't really take a bite out of this one there, but shout out to anybody who had the shorts. I know that someone in my trading pod definitely did, and shout out and congrats to him for having the short here. No real reason to cover even now.
I have an idea what that might be.
Yeah.
If you're not going to say the name, I won't.
Yeah, no, trending down pretty nicely. I guess we're going to talk about this one a little bit later. But yeah, strong reasons to sell. No real reason to buy just yet. So let's see if Apple continues to trend a little bit lower, looking distinctly different from that of the market. The market's already bouncing on its second 15-minute candle here now, with only about 39 seconds left for this 15-minute candle to print.
Before you do, I did get a new position, but it's.
Dude,
I've done this every single day for the last, I'd have to recount it, but it doesn't really matter. Fail the pre-market high, come into VWAP short. Fail the pre-market breakout high, come into VWAP short. You fail, come into VWAP short. Fail the top. This is the thing that's very, very different about it this time is the nature of how far it dropped before it retested VWAP. So ultimately, like, I'll just get out of the way. I'm using less on this than I did before the previous days that I've gotten into Intel, only because usually it goes a little bit and then you get your shot at VWAP earlier. So while this might still work, it's not exactly the same as what it was doing every other day that I was deploying this exact same trade on Intel. It just is what it is, and try to respect the fact that, hey, if Intel is doing this, one of the reasons why I look at Intel on that pattern short is the rest of the chip names have recovered, as Shreve would like to say, bigly. AMD, NVIDIA, SMCI, probably Marvell. I haven't looked at Marvell, but probably not quite so much. But if I'm gonna fade something, I want A, it to have a structure that we like, but B, it's relatively weak. So if AMD and NVIDIA roll over, well, I mean, is Intel going to bounce more? Probably not. If the market rolls over at VWAP, is Intel going to continue bouncing? Probably not. And then I have a pattern which has worked every single day for the last, like, 7 days in a row on the stock. That said, you know how it works. You can take something 7 times out of 7, and the 8th time it loses. But at least if you took it the other 7 times, then you should be up overall in the strategy. Unless somehow, I mean, you really should. I mean, you'd have to be a fool not to. Which is, like I said, as long as you take your hit and don't hold it past your stop. Like if this thing gets past a quarter, I'm not really risking all that much on it. And that's what you got to be able to do for sure. And I know there's a lot of other things that we haven't paid too much attention to. And there is one name that usually Sean will have gandered at by 10:30. And it's another Christmas tree recovery, PLTR. Palantir. There's a lot of things bouncing, but as I said, there's a difference between the ones that are bouncing and they've gotten all the way to the top, like AMD and NVIDIA and possibly Palantir here, and the market, which distinctly has not. So I would put this in the bucket of strength. I was kind of hoping Palantir would do that thing where it goes all the way to the channel bottom on the daily, and then it's like an easier long down there. It keeps on picking these random levels now. Like recently, it's been a higher low that doesn't get to the channel bottom. It's done it twice and then retests the highs. If that pattern continues and we close above 156, maybe we get that test of the high first. What an incredibly strong stock that is. I keep thinking, oh, the next pull down is the one that gets you to that bottom of channel. And ever since I put this up, you've only been able to short the top. You haven't been able to go long the bottom of the channel yet.
Yeah, I'm watching this Hood, man. Hood is starting to accelerate. These buyers are definitely very aggressive. It's a grinding bid on Hood, taking it all the way up through 99s now, holding prior bars, and yeah, just it's a very distinct kind of action here. It won't really let it drop more than 15, 20 pennies, and then just pushes even higher with every consecutive candle. So got eyes on this one to see if it'll potentially come in here. I'm looking for a change in behavior, a change in trend, a change in the price action as well, and the change in the tape, to be honest. Like we talk about defining trends, like sometimes for me, the trend is defined by what the tape is doing. Is the tape is trending in a certain way? Does that change? That's a trend break, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be just fixated on the chart. That concept of price action can be pretty vast there. So yeah. Looking pretty nice, poised for that 100 push, only about 70 pennies away from there, Neil. Let's see if we can get to 100. Okay. Let's see if anything spicy happens in and around that 100. But this Figma still holding underneath this VWAP as of right now. So looking pretty decent. So shout out to anybody who had the long off of those 110s or the anchored VWAPs. You got a beautiful reversion to VWAP off of that one. And then flush off of the open was quite nice as well. So we talked about Figma being a great trading vehicle, and a great trading vehicle it is, whether you're playing level to levels, whether you're playing trend breaks on the chart, or whether you're tape scalping it. There's a lot of opportunity on this one. Absolutely beautiful trading vehicle given to us here. This market is absolutely such a blessing, man. I think as much as I learn every day,
well, it's the best
this market ceases to surprise me.
It's like the analogy I like to use. It's the closest thing to professional sports, because if you play, let's say you're a basketball player, every single day, every game that you play, 80 games a year if you're in the NBA, the hoop's the same height, the teams you play are basically the same composition, the rules are the same, the quarter's the same length, the ball's the same, everything, all the rules, it's all the same game, but the outcomes are so vastly different. That's what the market is every single day. You can just prepare for your usual game plan, and then some things like this, right? Like I told you on Intel, I can't even count the days. If we come to my chart for a second, I can't count the days. It's every day since earning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you've been watching the show, every single day, and this is now the 6th day, I have been short on Intel on this exact same pattern. And every single time, it's done the exact same thing, which is fade for the rest of the day. And we come back in the afternoon, and I'm still short Intel. But in this particular case, unfortunately, it's trying to break through VWAP. So the 6th time, maybe it could still work and I get back into it, but you got to take the out. Just because it worked 5 times in a row doesn't mean it's going to work the 6th. But you've got to have that kind of a plan of action. Neo break, like I said, it was molasses Neo. I mean, there we go. I was able to get some scalps out in the way to that 10, but it just doesn't go that far. So I just punched out when it came back through 99. If it's going to pull back to VWAP, it's only an extra 7 pennies, but when it only went like 6 pennies in the money for you on a 5 break, I'm not going to sit there holding it 7 pennies against me. It's just, that's not how you structure a trade. If I'm getting in at 01s, then I want to get out 98 or 99 if I'm scalping the trade that way. And as always, my first outs are at 03s. I did size down on the break. Mixed idea whether that was good. After I had gotten in, I flatted some shares there when I didn't like the amount of volume, which is a good way to mitigate. If I don't see enough volume on a break, on a stock where I can get out for flat right away, a lot of times I'll just punch out half flat, and I use an ECM where I don't pay the fee. But it's just a smart thing to do if you're not seeing the kind of volume follow through. That way I don't have as much exposure if it slaps back to the downside. Let's go back over to my friend.
Yeah, so guys, traders, listen up. First month, free. That's right, we're waiving fees. Trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to Elite. Analyze, strategize, capitalize. Our platform, it's everything infinite. Infinite data, instant trading, lightning fast market insights, game-changing charts. Predict with backtesting, reliable real-time data, global markets at your fingertips, all in one platform. Don't miss out. Execute your best trades now. Ready to elevate your trading? Scan the QR code or check the link in the description, guys. Thank you very much. But yeah, tried a bit of a scalp on that hood there, and it seems like it's coming in maybe to that 100 mark. I tried a bit of a short on that pullback in, and it stepped right back in. I was covering aggressively and then pushed right back into it. Flip game through that prior high. Let's see if that will potentially come in. Current day high coming in at 99.42s. Don't know if it's going to get up there just yet, but we're holding 99s pretty well as of right now. Can we print the quarter? Can we hold the quarter, then print the half? Those are the questions I'm asking as of right now, Neil. Don't know if it's going to come in right away, but 125 is holding there on Figma as well with a little bit of a bid. 200 lots on the bid on Figma at 125. So a lot of exciting things to watch. Apple's still continuing for its lows here. Let's take a quick look at what the market is up to. The market's still trying to catch a little bit of a bounce. So, oh boy, let's see if that one will come in as well here. Still grinding bid on Robinhood, even though that was the first sign of some decent selling there. We did kind of still hold some of that trend and structure as of right now. So I'll continue to watch this one there. Let me know in the chat what you guys are trading, and we can cover that as well. But yeah, Robinhood pretty strong on the day there. Wasn't really expecting this kind of strength off of those lows, but it is what it is. Got to respect what the market is showing us.
Yeah, like that's sort of the thing. Like you have to. But we are, speaking of what the market's showing us, let's be real. You are still pulling in, like the Nasdaq anyways. Oh, ES is doing the same thing. You are still pulling in, failing's the wrong word, but testing pre-market lows, overnight lows, testing the volume weighted average price, and potentially still closing underneath. That does make it a little bit bearish on the way back through. So at the end of the day, and someone said in the chat, and this was kind of jokes, I don't have a grudge against Intel. It has nothing to do with that. It's just, like since earnings, it had a pattern. Like every single day, no, why is that still Figma? Since earnings, it had a pattern. It established a pattern, and then it just continued to do the same thing every single day. So when I see the pattern, I just try to repeat the trade that you make off of that pattern. So that was my approach as far as I'm concerned. Like in trading, a lot of what you're doing is just observing a pattern and then trying to make an execution based off of it. And then you may do that, and then you move on to the next trading opportunity. So I have nothing against Intel. I still have some Intel shares in my long term. I actually think this might be like underneath $20 has been a good buy zone. Like ultimately, from a value standpoint, if you're value hunting and you're looking for the bottom to come in, I would venture to say it hasn't made a new bottom down here yet. But you're getting into that zone where it's bounced several times and there's a good trade down around 19. It's just usually shown you the bottom and then you go long. When that happens, I'll probably start going long Intel. No question about it. It's already 1040.
Oh boy.
I knew you'd say, oh boy. Something, my spidey sense there, and I'm telling you, like some people have instincts and some people, it's just, you get this feeling, but and no one could have predicted that you would say, oh boy, obviously. There's no chance that could happen. That's why I think it's pretty special. Like, I should just quit the job and I can, and the other thing that's going into my brain right now is two things. One, the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, and two, we're going to go to Adara.
I mean, given how the market's doing, it's probably not that hard to predict that we have a very red sector board. Speaking of predictions or intuitions there, finance is really ugly. We have Bank of America, Citigroup, both down about 3%. Morgan Stanley down about 2.5%. Electronic technology red across the board. AMD, Arista Networks, and Micron notably red. Then we have technology services. Oracle down about 2%. Netflix, the rare shining star of this group, even though they've been relatively weak, more or less, as of late, currently up about 1.5%. Retail trade, great look, except for Amazon, down 6% on their earnings, specifically their AWS results, which were not as strong as those of their peers and necessarily what the street was looking for, kind of right in line with estimates. Producer manufacturing, consumer services, utilities, energy, minerals, transportation, industrial services, and health services all week, but health technology and consumer non-durables, kind of the fronts here that are pretty positive right now, guys. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Adara. Wait a minute. Whoops.
Oh yeah, we have the key now. Can't forget about that.
You got to do the key. You got to do it the right way. Skull, easy, clap. To each their own. I disagree. I mean, the Eagles, they're the champions. I have nothing against the Eagles because they're not in our conference, so that's absolutely fine by me. I love how it's absolutely hilarious. Bills this year, Mr. Westermeyer, thank you very much. The Chiefs are looking terrible at camp. I absolutely love the way that you think. Josh Allen is absolutely a dog. I would suggest this, Bilbo, you probably don't want to do this. New drinking game, take a shot every time Obi says, oh boy. That's a really bad idea.
You're going to be sauced within...
That's a very, very bad idea. Because what's going to essentially happen is Obi's just going to troll you and say, it's not going to end well for you if you try it. He's going to... I know what's going to happen. It's not the right way to play. Trust me.
Scalp man.
You say scalp man?
No, I'm just getting a little excited on that tape. I was like, all right, we're pushing back in the 99s, but we're still making lower highs, and it kind of washed that 99. I'm like, all right, well, you know what? I got a little lucky there, and I was just like, pew, pew, pew. Yeah, so, 23.
I have a question. Is Scalpman sidekick Robinhood? Oh. Did you do that on purpose, Obi? Because if so, that is like big games, but also Scalpman sidekick.
Wow, 99.15. Yeah, I think that sometimes the puns make themselves, and the level of how would you say, like a K2 K3 pun. I don't know. Just happens sometimes by itself.
Y'all on a different level.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Both of you just...
It just happens. It comes naturally. It just comes naturally. 99.15, so I clearly didn't hold that to fruition there. 99.26 is, oh my God, are we going to come into 100? I don't know, man. Let's see if we can get to 100. And trust me, I'm looking for the reversion. I'm honestly looking for the reversion, but I'm also willing to be nimble enough to be like, all right, I'm going to scalp some out of this, really feel it out, and then let it show me what it's trying to do. And I think that's going okay. It's going all right. Let's see. Can we print the quarter? Can we hold the quarter, print the half right now? 99.25 is on the ask and chopping around right there. So nice reclaim of that 90. We did take a little bit of a pullback, but this is the first pullback we've seen since the grinding, methodic bid that we've been getting. So we're holding the quarter now. 24 is on the bid, 18 is on the bid, 19 is on the bid. Oh boy, I feel like an auctioneer on this one, but this market is absolutely wild. 125 still holding on Fig. We see that reserve. So this is what I was talking about. Can we see significant tape like we did yesterday? And that 100 reserve was very, very significant. 125's holding on the reserves, both on the ask and the bid now. So a lot of liquidity kind of happening there. I'm watching that. I got that on watch. 99 halves now. Oh my God, 100.
It's going to make a break of that 100, Robinhood. But the thing is also happening in Fig. You got to. This plays both ways, Obi. You now have like a trend from the bottom, which is held out twice. So you got the wick bottom on Figma. There's your other bounce. It was a slight scalp trade for a breakout that I guess you could have taken into VWAP. If we lose this trend here, that doesn't look as healthy. So I'm going to eyeball that because there might be If it does this and
here it
breaks
comes.
120 bucks, that looks a little bit nasty on Figma. So I got to have that one up. No questions asked. If we lose 120 here, you can play it in both directions. Robinhood in the 100 level coming in rather quickly.
Boom, straight through.
It just broke on. Oh, not clean. It's not clean. It broke, but the bid didn't follow.
Not clean.
The offer got to, I don't know, like 5 or 6, but the bid never stepped up over 100 bucks. That's the thing on a breakout. There's a difference between
false break.
There's a difference between it breaks the level and the offer releases because people get stopped out. But if no one actually bids above 100, then all you do is break the price, run stops, and no one actually stepped up. You can always see that on the tape. So unfortunately, Robinhood did not do that. Maybe a pull back into the prior high, or it just takes it a second time through on the hooded one. It is super strong, despite the fact that Coinbase is still languishing down here, down 15%. They're the ones that reported. They're the ones that are weak, at least for now. So yeah, we got to be riding with the right one. That's Robinhood. The first thing I looked at after I saw this divergence between the two was maybe Webull was doing it. No. Like Webull down 6% in sympathy, and it's not going. It's a purely Robinhood story, at least among the names that I'm looking at over here.
Yeah, see, right back at 100 right now. So we did kind of chop it up a little bit there. Wow, tape's getting pretty aggressive, so I like to see that, right? We've seen that grinding bid. I want to see a trend, a change of trend in the tape as well, and that's happening right here in and around that 100. Let's see if it sustains. That's the next question, right? Does that change sustain, and do we get a follow through of that change of trend as well? So let's see if that comes in. I'm looking for sellers to start getting dominant on this one, Neil, and it seems like it's maybe coming in, but I'll let it consolidate. I'll give it 20, 30 pennies. What is the ATR on Hood? That's what I'm asking. You know what? I'm just going to use my calculator. It's not always super accurate, but it gives me a rough estimate, and I'll compare that to like FinViz or something. So my calculator right now on a 14-day period is giving me a $4.81 for Hood. Let's see what it is on FinViz real quick here for Hood, and compare that to my calculator. I just use Google Finance, and it does the calculation by I guess manually, and I have the ATR as 5.25 on a 14 days. So yeah, just like off by, I guess that's off by a decent chunk, but it gives me a rough idea, right? $5-ish, 4.81. I have, FinViz has 5.25, so off by about 20, I guess 40 pennies-ish. But it gives me a rough idea of what that ATR is, and maybe I can break that ATR into chunks to get a better perspective of some price action here. But yeah, pulling back from that 100, false break of that 100 right now, Neil, as the limited information being printed on the chart I'm seeing so far. But we'll see if it continues to hold. The SPY pulling back a little bit, and the Nasdaq rejecting that 23,000 as well, with this 15-minute candle, 10 minutes left on this one, and we're printing that top wick right here. I keep pointing as if you guys can see what I'm pointing at right here. So this right here. I'm like, yeah, right there. Take a look at this. Take a look at.
It's normal.
23,000 pulling back. Wow, you got $1 off that 100 false break. Absolutely beautiful. I was not fast enough for that one. I gotta pew pew a little bit faster for that one. Apple, no reversion yet.
Oh goodness.
That's what I'm talking about.
We had a key for that.
Apple's still continuing.
Have you seen Reddit yet?
What is Reddit up to?
Reddit and forget it. 22% to the upside and absolutely blasting. It seems to want 200, but this is going to be a wild reversion if it does happen. I only say it because I know there's no way you wouldn't be looking at something like this for the revert. It doesn't even pull back in. This morning I was like, yeah, if it tries to fill in the gap at the market's weak, look in front of 170. Well, $10 higher is where it actually pulled back into as Reddit continues to go to, it's a moonshot at this point. The market's weak. This is about the only one that's super, super strong. I'm still eyeballing that Figma, baby. I know we were long before, and we're about to go to Adara. But, it's bouncing off the trend line again. There it is. I got to hit save, and then it'll stay. But bless you, Adair. I'm just waiting for this to break the trend and then take my first short in Figma. Well, I didn't short it yesterday, so I guess I can say ever. Let's go back to Adara.
What a bear flag here for the U.S. dollar. We get this economic data coming in right at 8:30, and the USD just tanks, though right now it is trying to form a bit of a base. Now, what numbers are we talking about? We're talking about non-farm payrolls lower than expected here, 73,000 versus 104,000 expected. Unemployment rate 4.2%, so that was in line with expectations. And private payrolls 83,000 versus 100,000 expected. So private payrolls lower, non-farm payrolls lower, unemployment in line, and average earnings year over year actually 0.1% higher than we were expecting. I want to mention, too, Fed's bossed at commenting because, guys, this morning we got the comments from the 2 dissenting Fed members. That were the 2 members who did not agree with the Fed's decision to hold rates and wanted to cut rates by 25 basis points. They both expressed concerns here about, I guess, the employment risk. That would be both Fed's Waller and Fed's Bowman. Well, now we have Fed's Bostic chiming in. He just a couple of minutes ago finished comments on CNBC, and he said basically that the biggest issue is the environment and the measure of the Fed's dual mandate, right? They have to care about both the inflation and jobs. Right now, jobs are showing to be struggling, but they're still feeling like inflation is high. Fed's Bostic also said it's an active debate right now on how restrictive the Fed policy is. So it seems like things are quite heated in the Fed room. But I will say what certainly, I guess, heated as well is the expectation for a cut in September. As of Wednesday and Thursday, we weren't really seeing super high cut expectations after Fed Chair Powell gave some mixed remarks. Now, basically 81% of participants expecting a 25 basis point cut coming through at that September meeting. October looks like we're expecting a cut as well, should we get a cut in September. December right now, a little bit more mixed because we really don't have as much data yet to go off of. So interesting look here. September cut seeming more and more likely, guys, as we send you back to Neil and OB.
Yeah, up to 80. It was, I mean, when we checked it in the pre-market, we were at 67, 68 maybe. So that's absolutely wild. How quickly things can shift. That's just how it is. I mean, we're flying all over the place. The more uncertainty you get in a rate cycle, that looks delicious. Obi, what kind of cookie is that? It's chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip.
That looks really good.
Pretty good. I had too much sweet for breakfast. I had the quiche.
Really good.
I had the quiche, and then I had half of that cookie. And I was like, I'm feeling a little low on energy, so I'm like, let me just re-up on the sugar here.
That's, yeah, that makes sense.
Of course, yeah. Because the inevitable sugar.
We'll get to what's for lunch in literally minutes. When we get out of here, you can just eat your lunch. But nothing wrong with a good cookie. All I wanted to say is, look, to get to 80%, the economic numbers this morning are shifting us. But volatility is fantastic when you have disputed rate decisions. And right now, we went from uncertain about September to now the markets seem to think it's happening again for sure, which is absolute insanity to me that things shifted this quickly. We got some revisions on ADP. I get that, and they signaled weakness in the labor market. They also signal that those numbers are nonsense when they first come out. If they are always revising them huge, then basically we shouldn't be paying attention to them. We should only look at the revisions. I guess that's what they're also telling us. The other thing that's happening right now, NEO 5 break back to VWAP. So we wait for it to get to the volume weighted average price. Now it's coming back to VWAP. Going to look for the bounce on NIO, everybody.
Oh boy, indeed.
I heard get it UNH,
yeah,
which means it's making fresh flows.
Yeah, UNH.
That's the only thing that it does is make fresh.
I'm going to take a guess and I'm going to take a guess and be like somebody is short UNH right now. So let's take a quick look at that. Oh boy, wow.
That stock sucks.
Where'd you get into this one, Indira?
So I initially got in 244.50s-ish. I added 242.50s, like pre-market low.
Nice.
Nice.
That's so okay. Yeah, through the break of pre-market, nice. Using structures to kind of guide your decisions, absolutely beautiful. Trend to the downside on UNH. More of the same, man. Yeah, we keep talking about this one. I'm like almost every day. It's been a short. Coming into earnings, more selling. Next day, leg consolidation, leg continuation. Coming in right now, 240s. Absolutely beautiful. Great trade there, Adara. I was not involved in this one, but definitely very much in play. Look at the relative volume that it's doing in the pre-market session. 4 times the relative volume all the way into that quadunk that we did catch a little bit of a bid off of at 6 a.m., but more of the same. Supply just stepping into yesterday's end-of-day levels here right off of the open, breaking that prior day low, 247s, breaking this consolidation low look at that hold as well. That's showing up pretty nicely right here. This bid 245s and then 242. So yeah, solid stuff there on UNH. Not really looking so healthy for the longs there. But yeah, let's take a quick look at what the volume leaders are as of right now. Open door, we know. Oh boy, open is open for some fresh prices on the day. 220s. I'm in the personal. Oh. Nice.
Sharif is trying to work into open, which makes a lot of sense. He loves those small gappers, and we only have 3 minutes to go.
Oh boy.
Wow, we only have 3 minutes to go, so I don't have the button, but we're gonna do what's for lunch anyways. Because apparently Obi's hungry, and you got to eat something healthier than just some cookies if you need some energy there. Obi, by the way, Figma is very close to breaking that trend. It looks like it's trying to do so. I'm just gonna show you the whole thing. We'll spoil it. Lemon herb salmon.
Ooh.
I love salmon. You got to cook it just right. Roasted baby potatoes, seasonal vegetables, and chef's choice salad. Now, all of that said, I'm still going to eat a salad, a regular salad, and every single day, every day this week, our salad has had cut up chicken. The only thing they've changed
is there's chicken in the salad?
It's seasoned a little bit differently every single day, but it's basically the same thing on our salad every day. All I want today is there to be a different protein with my salad. Great if it happens to be salmon, but I'll take anything that isn't chicken after 5 days in a row. And Dara's clapping because we've both been feeling the same thing. But that said, we'll get what we get. We won't be upset. Figma is stuck. Absolutely.
Yeah, 125.
Yeah, it's just not flying away from this level in either direction. So like I know I like it if we break out above VWAP, but when I see it, like the first candles are strength after it broke the trend. I'm waiting to see some idea that there's actually sellers that are starting to win. And the spread just opened up to $1 here. That's weird. That's wild. So I mean, the bid's dropping a little bit. I might try to weasel in front of 125 if I can to steal a term from the guy that you're about to hear in a couple of seconds or in a couple of minutes. So I might jump in front of the 125. I'm trying to get something in front of 124, and I'm going to get my stop out because we can do that. We can have our stop out before we even get into position, which we should always do. Yeah. Although you couldn't do it for the IPO, it was a bit different. But yeah, now that I see the bid starting to drop, I'm trying to get in at 124 without chasing it, just to look for the scalp trade on this rejection of the prior day high and a trend break. But it's going to be a very tight stop. Like the prior bar is literally at 124.80. So if I get in, I'm stopping out just above that, and you can't even get in. Like that's how ridiculous this is. So I'm just sitting here in the offer. Just one print up should pick me up, ideally. Oh, the other thing, just to go back over, where are you, Neo? Why did I just type NYMEX? Neo has lost the volume weighted average price temporarily, but there's still some play that it could get a couple of cents underneath and hold the prior day close. I still have it up, and I'm looking for the bounce in NIO. It's still a good enough breakout play that if it holds up here, I do want to play the long. I just have to wait a little bit on this one, as it's not cleanly bouncing off VWAP. Intel is sort of the other thing. Wicked out, shorted again, scalps them out. Now I'm still shorting it into this high second time. So I'm willing to play this pattern. As I said, it worked 5 days in a row, so we'll try it again here on Intel. And I did not get filled in Figma.
Yeah, you got to remove liquidity on that one. If you really like it, you got to take it.
Yeah, but the problem is the spread opened up $1.
Yeah.
So I'm not hitting. Like if I hit 122.5. That changes everything about the trade if I'm stopping at 125. And for some people, they're like, yeah, whatever, just chase it and then it just works. I'm like, no, I'm not. I will never just sit there and say I'm just gonna risk twice as much as my plan to get into the trade. To each their own. For me, I always look at things on a very, very high time frame, like strategies on a very, very high time frame. I never care how I'm doing. I care how I make my decisions. I never care how I'm doing on the day relative to how I'm doing on the month. I never care how the month is going relative to the quarter. I never care how the quarter is doing relative to the year. Like the longer I've done it, the more I think that way. And it makes it a heck of a lot. It makes it really easy. Like I wasn't really that mad at myself over Fig. Like I left a third of my profits on the table. I could have had a 50% bigger day with a slight adjustment on my stop. But I'm like, yeah, you know what? It still was the right decision. The way that I structured the stop, I just probably priced it a little bit wrong, so I can't really be mad at myself. And if this follows through, I followed a rule that I know over time makes a lot of sense, at least to me. So anyways, I might have missed that entry, and yeah, you could have a couple bucks in there, but then I'm breaking a rule and I'm risking twice as much on that trade. But it's a good trend break. Hopefully someone's got that one. It's 11 o'clock already.
Oh boy.
You've got the professor in open. I thought you were in open. Maybe he'll get there. Yeah, you're in open. It's right there. We got Joey options as well. We'll be back at 2 o'clock, everybody. Good one. Obi, we'll get some salad, maybe some salmon, hopefully, and maybe I'll grab myself a cookie if there's any still left. There probably aren't any left, but I'll see if I can snag one. Go get them, boys.
Yeah.
What happened, Joey? You see that squat? There's gonna be another squatting video. Boom!